Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
We are the Two Mics. Welcome to another 5-hour spectacular, and a very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry, who is sitting next to me. It's actually more than a 5-hour spectacular. It's going to be more like a 17-hour spectacular.
It certainly is. And good morning to you, Mike. Great to be here. And I have to say immediately how thrilled we both are to be leaving the show tomorrow morning on the champagne train off to Cheltenham.
Yes.
To join our real good old pals and buddies, Paul and Andy, Hawksby and Jacobs, just to do a brief stint on their show from Cheltenham, just to lower the tone of the whole broadcast.
Exactly, and then also probably to have the odd glass of champagne down at Cheltenham, and to make the odd bet as well, because as you know, the last time you and I went horse racing together, I was rather successul at Windsor, do you remember?
Yeah.
And you got very wound up about it.
Yeah, I did get wound up about it because,
I won
as usual,
on every single race.
Well, you didn't run every single race. You all right, you selected a horse that came in the first four, I think, in about...
I won money on every race.
I don't think you did. I think that's a lie.
I did.
I'm sorry, I don't normally call people liars, but that's a blatant lie. Because
no, it's not. It's why you're getting so wound up about it.
No. I was the person in control of the information. I was with John McCririck. I was with our very old pal, the racing editor of the Sun.
Racing editor of the Sun?
Yeah. A huge old pal of mine. No, not Tomo. No. But I'll remember his name.
You seem to spend most of your time shelling up the woman who'd invited us there.
Well, she's a lovely girl.
She is.
And that was Kate Hills, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Who is in charge of Arena Leisure, and that includes Windsor. Windsor's a fantastic racetrack to go to because it's right on the bend of the River Thames, and you get there by the little boat that we went on. I'm going to do that again next summer.
Yeah, we should.
Now...
We went there at night, I seem to remember. Yeah. The only thing that's worrying me about the day is the weather. Have you heard the weather from Ben Fletcher?
No.
Apparently there's massive storms, 100-mile-an-hour winds.
It doesn't matter.
Coming in from the West Country.
Don't worry, because Cheltenham, because, I've been singing the praises of Windsor. Cheltenham is one of the most magnificent sporting arenas in the world. In fact, so magnificent that when I went last year to this meeting, now, I don't want to be unkind, Mike, but actually... Hawksby and Jacobs, Paul and Andy, wanted me there because I did them last year. But on this,
they wanted me to come with you this time.
No.
Because last time, there were one or two things that they'd rather not repeat. I think
on this occasion, they thought, well, look, I suppose you better ask them both because it wouldn't be very nice, if we didn't. That's why you've got the invitation.
Well, I'm very, very grateful to you then.
Well,
for that.
You're largely a passenger, but don't worry about it because I'm going to make you part of the show. Okay?
Thank you very much indeed.
Is that all right? Yeah,
that's very kind.
Now,
I think they've actually asked me to be your chaperone just to make sure that the timing of everything goes well. That
I don't need a
peak a little bit too early.
I don't need a chaperone.
That kind of thing,
Now, when we leave here in the morning, right, there'll be no heading to those, pubs up near the market here that open at 6 o'clock.
No, none of that.
None of that.
Straight to the station.
We're going straight to the station. There'll be a coffee and a croissant,
I hope
right?
you've had some sleep, by the way, over the course of the last 10 hours or so, have you?
Look, I can regulate my body to do exactly what I want. I'm like a robot. And when I...
Are you?
When I told the body...
What sort of robot would you say you are? Like a sort of
Well, I'll tell you that in a minute.
robot?
When I told the body today, at 2 o'clock, I told the body today, you are going to be in action for 24 hours, right?
Right.
The body now knows it's going to be... And I feel as fresh as a daisy.
Do you speak to the body or do you send it a note?
No. I'm following a new philosophy in life. It's called Mindfulness, and I'll tell you all about it later in the show. I'm not going to get into the
We've
heads
got a
of
lot
our...
of things. We're going to talk about the comet later on in the show as well. We're going to talk about FIFA, of course, as well.
I've seen the bloke who's the scientist who landed the comet on the...
Well, there's a lot of them.
So he lands a spaceship the size of a washing machine.
Yeah.
On a piece of rock 316 million miles away, which is moving at 40,000 miles an hour, and he manages to drop this washing machine on it just like that. However, he admits that he is a clumsy parker who's always smashing his... Well, not smashing, but always denting his car
cars,
when he's trying to park his car.
Maybe you should get some sensors.
Yeah, well, exactly, and all that kind of stuff, But it is a fantastic
it's an incredible story, yeah. We're talking
about
it later on.
The only thing that I ask about that, and I haven't finished telling you about Cheltenham yet. Cheltenham, magnificent arena, and last year Andy and Paul asked me to describe it, and when I said, well, it's fantastic, it's like a Colosseum, you'd see Ben Hur going round here in chariots.
How is it like a Colosseum? Has it got walls around it? No,
it's surrounded by Cleve Hill.
Right.
And therefore it is...
It's nothing like a Colosseum.
It is. It's in a bowl.
It's a natural amphitheatre is what you mean.
Yeah, it's a natural amphitheatre. That's exactly what it's like. Yeah, it's exactly what it's like. And which is what I said. And actually, although I thought Andy and Paul were bigging me up to the audience for my descriptive abilities, they were in fact taking the mickey out of me.
Were they?
Yes. And sniggering. Can you imagine
I
people
can't imagine that.
As I was explaining,
you know... They weren't taking you seriously?
They weren't taking me seriously at all. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a great pleasure to be on their shows and looking forward to seeing them tomorrow.
Well, maybe that's why they want me there to kind of make it a bit more of
I'm going to wear my...
You're not wearing that lot, are you, what you've got on now?
No.
I hope you brought some other clothes with you.
Well, of course I brought other clothes with you, fool. I'm going to change your suit.
Apparently it's Country Day, by the way, so you could wear something that kind of alludes to you being from the country.
And do you know what it is?
What is it?
My Peaky Blinder hat.
That's got nothing to do with the country.
Of course it has. It's got everything to do with the country.
It's the
Black Country.
It's a Birmingham hat, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I
mean,
mean,
a country hat.
Well, you see.
I'll wear my barber.
Most people who've never been to the Midlands think that Birmingham is a massive, great industrial city with little to give it beauty and grace.
There's not a lot of beauty in the middle of it, I have to say.
Oh, I'm telling you, Birmingham is at the focal point of three of the greatest counties in this country.
I agree with that.
Warwickshire,
it's got lovely country around it. Lovely country around it.
And is it Staffordshire? Shropshire, right? And that's all around. That's all around you. It's magnificent. Living in the Midlands was a great pleasure for me. Now,
I must say, the last time I came out of Birmingham New Street Station, I didn't think, my goodness me, I'm in the middle of some rural...
Yeah, but if you go into Lime Street Station or you go into Euston Station, it's all inner city, big city stuff, and that's not nice. I agree. Now, getting back to what we're talking about, mindfulness, right? I'll tell them about that later.
You're going to do that later
on. But meanwhile, Mike, we've got to have a look at a couple of serious issues here, just to prove that we are not dilettantes, right?
We are certainly not dilettantes.
And we're going to have a look at the Wayne Rooney situation, because, of course, I wrote his best-selling book, the one that, you take the mickey out of.
Which is currently available for £1 on Amazon, I believe.
Well, so are most great books by the time they're 3 or 4 years old, yeah.
Have you got a figure of the number of sales, actually? Or is it still selling? You probably haven't had an update for a while.
Well...
This is a book that famously doesn't really mention anything about Wayne Rooney's young life until about chapter 3,
well, that's
because
right,
in chapter 1 it's all about how he saved your life.
Yes, exactly, but you have to build it up. But, no, there's that. But the other story is young Jess, right? Jess Ennis?
Jessica Ennis.
I mean, it's quite a thing to achieve things in life where you get your name put on the football stand at your local football ground.
Yeah.
You've got to have actually done something quite magnificent to have done that.
Well, she has.
Yeah, exactly, of course she has. Following in the footsteps of Sir Alex Ferguson, of Doug Ellis, Sir Doug Ellis, I think it is, at Aston Villa. Following in I think Derek Dooley, there's a stand named after him at Sheffield Wednesday, across the city from Sheffield.
I think there's a Jock Stein stand at
I'm sure there must be, and if there isn't, there should be. And the Bill Shankly Gates, of course, and all that. And at such a young age to have a stand named after you, and it's very prominent a name. You've seen a picture of it tonight.
I have.
The Jess Ennis stand. For her to say...
Well, funny enough, on the show that we did yesterday, because we were talking a little bit about the whole Ched Evans story, people were saying, I wonder what Jessica Ennis is going to say about this, because as of yesterday, nobody had actually heard too much from her.
No.
But now she's saying, if you employ this guy, if you employ him, take your name off.
No, I mean, honestly, I think that's fantastic. Just imagine in years to come, and, we can see this happening. Supposing in my local town like Epsom or in Gosport, they name the local leisure centre after me. The Mike Parry...
By the way, actually, I've got some news for you on that.
Was somebody laughing there?
Yeah, that's Dave the producer.
Who's laughing?
Dave the producer.
Oh, I'm not having it. Suppose they name it the Mike Parry Leisure Centre, and then all of a sudden...
Why would they do that, though?
Well, as a tribute to
but
my
you're not an
contribution.
athlete for a start. In fact, looking at you, you'd be the last person they'd name a leisure centre after. They might name a pub after you, perhaps.
No. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. My contribution to the local populace,
Well, I had a tweet, actually, last week after what you were saying about wanting to put on the Christmas lights down in that part of the world.
Yes.
It turns out that you were replaced by somebody who was even less famous than you.
What do you
Some
mean?
of the local milkmen apparently put the lights on.
Don't be ridiculous.
That's what I was told from somebody down in Gosport.
Well, it was a local rock star.
Was it?
Yeah. He was a member of a band, and he did it. But look, I don't have time to do those sort of things. And anyway, I don't seek glory. I don't seek personal glory.
So you won't be looking to put any Christmas lights on this year, then?
Well, if I'm asked, I don't mind helping out. But I have to say, it is not a priority of mine. I want the people of this world to enjoy Christmas like people should enjoy Christmas. Okay. What do you think about the reviving the, don't they know it's Christmas time again?
I'm not keen on that. But, I mean, it'll raise money for charity, which is always a good thing.
It's for Ebola this time.
Every single sort of time they've redone it, it's never been as good as the first time.
I totally agree. I'd rather be left with the memories of that one 30 years ago and all those young people with their flowing hair were doing so much to contribute. But the other thing is, and you cannot blame Bob Geldof or Mitch Yaw or anybody got involved in it 30 years ago, the sheer politics now of overseas foreign aid is so murky. I read a report just today of a load of foreign aid which arrived in an African country. It was stored in a warehouse, and the following day, another ship arrived in the same port and took it all away somewhere else. I mean, it's an incredibly murky world.
It's very, very difficult.
Incredibly murky world,
very difficult. But we've got lots more to talk about. We haven't finished the Cheltenham conversation. We've got
we must have a conversation
as well. 08717 22 33 44. We are the two mics. We are here all the way through the night. It's a spectacular. Would you mind not making odd noises?
No, I'm feeling good. We're going to have a really, really, great adventure over the next 18 hours.
We are.
And I can't wait to get to those rolling Chiltern Hills. It'll be absolutely fantastic. It is the Chiltern.
I'm not sure. I think it might be.
No, it's not. It's, hang on, where are we going?
It's the Cotswolds.
Cotswolds, the rolling Cotswold Hills. I can't wait to get there.
If we end up in the Chilterns, we'll be in the wrong place.
Yeah, we'll be
hopefully
on the wrong train.
We are the two mics. There's lots more coming up now.
Cleve Hill rules.
That boy needs therapy.
Psychosomatic.
That boy needs therapy.
You're psychosomatic.
That boy needs therapy.
Lie down on the couch.
What does that mean?
You're a nut. You're crazy in the coconut.
What does that mean? That boy needs therapy.
I'm gonna kill you.
That boy needs therapy.
Granny Gazoo, let's have it, you. How when I count three.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. We've already got some people making a few corrections to the first part of the show. I'm sorry to tell you. It's a couple of people are saying, was it Claude Duval?
It is Claude.
The Sun's racing
Claude, my old pal.
That you couldn't actually remember. That's
very
better
old
than
pal.
William Motherwell says, Mike Graham, could you ask Metal Mickey Parry the Robot if the Sun Racing man he forgot was Claude Duval?
It is Claude. It is Claude.
And then a couple of people saying that you got some Birmingham stuff wrong as well.
Why?
It's Staffordshire, not Shropshire, apparently.
Well, both borders. Staffordshire is just to the north, and Shropshire is just to the north, south-east, north-west.
Is it?
So, like for instance, I say they're both touching Birmingham because Kidderminster is and Black Country is up in Shropshire. If you want to go to the Black Country, you drive down the A41 from Merseyside, where I used to, and straight into Wolverhampton. And it
depends where you're coming from, I suppose.
If you come north, from north, that's what I'm trying to tell you where Shropshire is.
Yes.
If you just
I think I've been down the A41.
Yeah, of course you have. Yeah, and you go into Wolverhampton. That's the Black Country.
It's a good way of avoiding the M6, isn't it?
Yeah, but it not these days, to be honest. The roads are so congested. And as for Staffordshire, you come down the M6 and you see a sign, Lichfield. Well, that's in Staffordshire. So both those counties...
I used to go to Stafford Bingley Halls to see bands. I saw The Who there, actually.
Really?
Very big sort of rock venue there, Stafford Bingley Halls.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
Interesting, exactly. Now, let's talk about the Jessica Ennis stand and the whole situation.
Yes, OK.
Because it is weird, isn't it, this Ched Evans story? I mean, I've been saying since the beginning, when he came out of prison, that I was against this kind of petition to say that he should never be playing football again, because in the end he has served his time, and if you start saying to people that you've been a criminal and you've now served time and basically now you can never work again, I think that's a very dangerous precedent. I know in a footballing sense it's all very, very different, and I assume you're one of those who says that he shouldn't play football again.
Well, I've said that from the start. While he's a convicted rapist, he has no role in football for two reasons. Firstly, young footballers are incredibly attractive to young women, so most young women will try to ignore the fact he's a convicted rapist. And as he's a convicted rapist, those young women are potentially putting themselves in danger of being in the same company as a man who has been found guilty by a jury of such horrendous crime.
So you're saying if he's not a footballer, that will not be the case then? So they won't sort of flock to him as such?
What I'm saying is you are very high profile. Football's a different game. That's point one. But point two, because of the high profile nature of his job, he has the opportunity every time a microphone's put in front of his face or he's asked by a newspaper reporter how the game went to repeat his mantra, I'm not guilty. I'm appealing, I'm not guilty. Well, at the moment, he is guilty and he is a rapist. He will have the opportunity to grandstand what he claims is his innocence.
So you think what we should do is
the
basically
victim,
wait.
sorry, mate, let me just finish. But the victim is on a witness protection scheme and she's anonymous and she can't speak out. So she can't defend herself against that. That's why I think it's wrong.
Well, could we not then say that the best thing that everybody should do is wait until the appeal is heard and wait until the appeal process is finished, and then we either know that he's not guilty, or we do.
Well, at the moment he is guilty.
Yeah,
that's
at the moment
point.
he is. That's what I mean. But at the moment, you can't say for sure that will be the state of affairs in a year's time or something.
You can only take it as it is today, and that's the situation. I agree with you. Put it all on hold until the appeal process is finished, and then if it turns out that he is, they do reverse the decision, all that, then he deserves all our sympathy for being the victim of a miscarriage of justice. But that's not the case at the moment.
At the moment, no. So, I mean, do you think Sheffield United are going to have to give in to a lot of this pressure, though, and just actually say, we can't really let you even train here now?
I don't know where Sheffield United are coming from to get themselves in a position like this. Now, Jess Ennis, right, is, one of the nation's sweethearts after all she's achieved. Her name is on the stand there at Sheffield United. Saw the picture of it tonight we were talking about earlier. Magnificent to have your name on that stand. And now she's saying, please take it off. If that's not ringing the alarm bells for Sheffield United as to the level of public opinion which they'll run into if they take this process any further.
Yeah, I think up until she said that, I think they could probably sort of stand against it, but I don't think they can now, so I think they're going to have to be very, very careful about what they do. Now, let's talk about Wayne Rooney as well, because it's big international weekend, his 100th cap. Lots of people have been talking. You were on the Breakfast Show the other day talking about his first game that you were at and various other games that you've seen him playing, and there's been much debate about whether or not Wayne Rooney is one of the greats. He himself said the other day, I'm not an England great until I've actually won something with England.
No, that's true.
You'd have to say, I don't think he's ever going to win anything with England.
No, he's not, no. I mean, look, Rooney's been getting done all week, so you and I will talk about it briefly and then we'll move on, because quite frankly I think the audience may have had enough about it, and we've got it all to come again on Saturday. I don't like the idea of him coming out with his kids. I know people are going to have a go at me and say, but it's a huge moment for him. But I mean,
but what about doing it all before the game? That seems weird, doesn't it?
Well, not really. You can't do it after the game, because if England have a bad result, everybody's going to go home, and the atmosphere will be such a downer. I mean, we're not expecting to get a bad result, but if you do, nobody's going to hang around and watch it, are they? So they do it before the game. That's fair enough. But you've got to remember, Mike, that this is about the fourth or fifth, 100 cap player we've had in the last 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Ashley Cole, Steve Gerrard, obviously Frank Lampard kicked off with Beckham and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. But the other thing is that, you see, Jimmy Greaves is in the news at the moment, because after years and years and years of a campaign, he got his World Cup medal.
Now he's sold it.
Now he's flogging it. Well, I read a piece by Martin Salmon in the Mail this week. He said he's entitled to do it. He should have got it in the first place. Now, to me, Jimmy Greaves was one of the great players. I don't know if you ever saw him play.
I did, yeah. I
was lucky enough to see him play, funnily enough, at Goodison Park. My dad took me to see Everton play Spurs. And my outstanding memory of him is how good he was, but he didn't play in the World Cup teams. But, I mean, he is a better player than Wayne Rooney, as really, I suppose, was Bobby Charlton. Well,
different
Bobby
kind of player, though, as well.
Yeah, but different generations, I suppose. There you are. And the Wayne Rooney thing, his greatness is measured against what else we've had in England over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so, you quite rightly said he hasn't won anything and all that kind of stuff. So, look, it's going to happen and all that. But leading the kids out and all that sort of stuff, I don't know. I think Dennis Wise did us all a disservice years ago when he walked up to get the FA Cup with his kid in his hand, and he could only lift the cup with one hand. I mean, why not?
Everybody does it now, though, don't they? I mean, it's a sort
well,
of,
do you know what I saw?
Epidemic.
Do you know what I saw the other night? I'm glad you've got onto this, because this is something I feel very strongly about. Andy Murray, who, by the way, got hammered
slaughtered
tonight.
And he came out with a really weird thing. You know how he's never very sort of enthusiastic after any game?
Yeah.
But he said Roger was playing so well that actually, even if I'd been playing well, he would have beaten me anyway.
I know. He said I wasn't on top of my game, but Roger was playing so well. I mean, Roger's getting over the hill a bit, isn't he, in terms of age?
I saw a bit of Federer the other day. I was watching tennis at home, and he's still got the capability of just serving a couple of aces to get out of trouble. Incredible. And if depending on how it all works out in this tournament, he could end up being world number one again at the end of this season.
Is that right?
Which would be incredible.
That would be incredible. But anyway, look, point of the story is...
So what is it that you're annoyed about?
Well, I'm telling very annoyed about this. Andy Murray comes out for his game that he lost 2 nights ago. You know, that was the first ATP one, Oh,
with the Japanese guy?
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, he worked so hard to get into these ATP finals, didn't he? He was playing a tournament a week for the last 7 weeks.
And he won 3 of them, didn't he?
Yeah, he won 3 of them just to get the points to get in. And then he maybe it drained him so badly that he wasn't up to it when he got there. But anyway, point of the story
what is the point of the story?
Point of the story is, Look, when a team comes out in the Champions League, it annoys me to hell that every one of them is holding the hand of a little child as they walk out. I don't know why they do it. What's the point?
Well, because it makes the children feel as if they're involved.
It's
a
rubbish.
Nice thing to
it's
do.
Nonsense to get children involved to that extent. Now, when Andy Murray came out the other night for his game...
the children would agree.
No, the children shouldn't have a view on it because they're children. They're not adults.
Well, children aren't allowed a view.
Well, they're not allowed a view on this because...
Thank goodness you never had any.
This, to me, is taking advantage of children, right? Now, when Andy Murray...
Those children love being
there.
When
Andy Murray came out the other night, he had hold of a little child's hand as he came out, and he's just one man, he's not a team. It looked ridiculous. I didn't see that. Andy Murray didn't look ridiculous.
They have all that smoke coming out the doors as well, don't they?
That's right, dry ice floating all over the place, and he emerges from dry ice holding the hand of this bemused little child,
well,
who didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue what was going on and thought, well, what am I doing here? And all, I've been kidnapped and all this kind of stuff,
I don't think the child thought that. I'm sure
I think so. I think so.
Very, very happy to be there.
I can see it in the child's face, bemusement, and sort of bemusement that I see in your face, whenever I challenge you with something intellectually and you don't have the answer.
I can't remember the last time that happened.
Oh, really? Well, it'll happen tomorrow, believe me, at Cheltenham, mate. I know a little bit more about racing than you do. And I just think it's wrong. And I want to see the end of this ceremony where the 22 men, grown men, come out of the tunnel at a football match, all holding a little child's hand. I think it's ludicrous.
Surely all it is an extension of the original sort of mascot idea, isn't it?
Of course it is, but ridiculously expanded. It's child exploitation.
No, it isn't.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's child exploitation. It is. It's child exploitation. And don't you see what happens? Whenever the ceremony's just finished, the line-up's done and all that, the players run off, and the kids are usually milling around thinking, what are we doing here? Are we playing tonight? They just don't know what they're doing.
Exactly what they're doing.
They just don't know what they're doing.
And for them, I'm sure for them it's been a fantastic experience.
I don't like it. I think it's a dreadful use of children to try, and I tell you what it is, it's the powers that be in football trying to be more family friendly, trying to be
There's nothing wrong with that.
More acceptable to a wider audience, trying to be compassionate. But football is not about compassion. When players are walking out, they should have aggression. They should have nastiness. They should have the damned will to win burning in their soul. And that does not include having time to be nice to a little child. I'm sorry, it's just wrong. It's completely wrong.
You're completely wrong about
I think it skews the mind of a professional footballer. I think it's absolutely wrong. And I think it should be banned and discarded and put away forever immediately.
Very intolerant view of that. I'm sure that nobody else agrees with it.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe
the scene's so typically Scottish. This biannual pilgrimage hasn't been a happy one over the last few years, but there's certainly going to be some celebrations tonight. And the Wembley pitch, perhaps one shouldn't say anything other than critical about this, because crowd invasions have been one of the reasons why fences have gone up everywhere, and indeed are going up at Wembley. And you're really divided between appreciating the delight of the Scottish fans but not wanting to see the ground pulled apart like this. They've even knocked the goals down and broken the crossbar.
And that was that 1977 game at Wembley, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. Now, what happened was, my mate and I was a training reporter in Chester, right?
So were you at the game then?
Oh, yeah, I was telling you. So my mate and I decided we'd go. Yeah. And we'd never been to London before, I don't think. Or had I been to London? I've been to London to play in a football tournament for the English public school boys, OK?
No, of course.
But I hadn't, see, I thought I'd let you know that. But I hadn't actually sort of, ventured into London work-wise. So we got some tickets because I was a training reporter on the Chester Chronicle. So you had access to a couple of tickets for the England-Scotland game, you know what I mean? Because
so you managed to blag a couple of tickets, is what you're saying?
Well, no, I paid for them, but I blagged them like, I sort of rang up and said, somehow I got them. I don't know how I got them.
Well, so you rang the FA to get them, you mean?
No, I think I got the sports editor, who was a guy called David Bedford, to do it for me, because he had some clout. He'd been around for 30 years, so he knew somebody, you know what I mean?
It was good of him to do it for you as a trainee.
Well, yeah, it was good of him, but then again, he could see me as an up-and-coming journalist who was going to be using useful to him in years to come.
I see, yeah.
He spotted me.
So have you ever returned a favour to him then?
No. He was...
No, of course not. Do you know where he is now?
Well, I think he worked on the Chester Chronicle for about 35 years, and then he retired to his semi-detached house, with his Ford Escort parked outside, and he plays golf twice a week now, and he has a very happy life, and he's a great guy, and I admire him for having the purpose and the will in life to not be ambitious and go through the pain, the agony, and the misery,
the selflessness,
of the fight to establish myself, you know, at the top of the tree, which has sometimes been successful. Sometimes been successful. Sometimes seen me plummeting down the old greasy pole and all
hitting
that kind
every
of stuff.
limb on the way down.
Hitting every limb on the way down. You know, the agony of it all. He just decided. No, he's a great guy. When I first got there,
I thought you hated people that didn't have ambition.
I don't hate him because he knew exactly what he wanted. When I first got there, I said, "Oh, hello, Dave." And he had his Mac on and all this kind of stuff. And I said, "Why have you got your Mac on?" Because it was about sort of 12:30.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, I'm just popping home for lunch." And he went downstairs, got into his Ford Escort, drove out the car park, drove home to his house 3 miles away, had lunch with his wife at home, and a butty or something like that, and then finished, and then got in his car and drove back to work.
Amazing.
And then at exactly 5:25 every night, he put his Mac on and he went home. Now, some nights, obviously, Chester were playing, and he'd then go off to the game and all that. He was a very diligent man, but he had no ambition to go anywhere else. He didn't want to do anything except...
And were you trying to undermine him while you were there? Were you trying to get his job?
Yes, definitely, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So despite the fact you admired this guy,
yeah.
You were basically working behind his back to try and shaft him.
I used to go down to the Chester Football Club, you know, on days when he was off and try and get stories, which he couldn't get. And in fact, I did get one. There was a guy called Billy Dearden, and Billy Dearden was a great footballer for Chester, and then he went on to play for Sheffield United. Funnily enough, we're talking about Sheffield United because of the Jess...
Ched Evans thing,
the Ched Evans things, that's right, yeah. But what happened was, I went down, I was just, you know, sort of floating around at the training and all that kind of stuff, and Billy came up to me, you know, and I was absolutely honoured, you know, this star player, and he'd come back to Chester then, do you see what I mean? Started his career at Chester, went off and played for Sheffield United, and then in the twilight of his career, came back and started playing Chester again.
He was a senior figure at Chester.
Very senior figure, and I was overwhelmed that this guy was, you know, talking to me. So, and he said, well, I'm looking to make the net tomorrow. He said, it'll be my 100th goal. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. I said, what, for Chester? He said, no, in all football, it's been my 100th. I said, oh, that's fantastic. So I had a chat with him, you know, what was your favourite goal and all that. Got back, submitted this piece behind David's back, and it was the lead story on the sports pages. Was he out for lunch
at the time or something?
He was out for lunch or something, yeah something like that. Or maybe it was after 5:25.
So you completely stitched him up, in other words?
Stitched him up completely, because he you know, he didn't see me coming in his wing mirrors, you know what I mean?
Was it after he got you the tickets or before?
Oh, probably after, because, you know...
Because you'd already used him and abused him by then, so he was of no more use to you. So this, again, characterises your career.
No.
You're absolutely shameless about just turning people over.
No, not at all. And anyway, so when I left, he was still there, and then he stayed on for another 20 years. We've had him on TalkSport.
Have you?
You know, when Chester went through all the terrible problems of going out of business.
Actually, I forgot to ask you on Monday. Yeah. Presumably you would have seen their result at the weekend.
Incredible.
In the FA Cup.
As a non-league team, they went off to Southend and won, and now they've got a great draw in the next round. They're playing Barnsley. Barnsley away, and that'll be another great one. But anyway, back to the story. Got the tickets. So my mate and I...
It's another one of those long, interminable stories.
No, it's a
rambles
great...
all over the place. So we're back at Wembley. It's 1977.
Well, we get to London, right? We get on the train from Chester to Euston via Crewe. Yeah. Had a few sherbets on the train, you know, because...
So that was a habit you started early then?
Started at 7 o'clock. But you had to buy the drink the night before in those days.
Did you go first class in those days?
No. I think I honestly think we travelled in the luggage wagon, or whatever it's called.
Mrs. Mott organised the tickets, by the way, for the train for tomorrow. Or for later.
Oh, yeah, they're all sorted, yeah, all sorted.
Are we going first class then?
We're all going first class to Cheltenham.
It's not one of those we're going to sit in first class and we don't have a first class ticket.
No, we're in the champagne carriage. Don't worry about that. I've sorted all that out. Don't worry about it. So anyway... So I think we actually sat on a couple of boxes in the, what did you used to call those wagons in those days, the luggage wagon?
Oh, yeah, the goods wagon.
Goods wagon, that's right, the goods wagon, with little cages. Sort of thing that you'd see in Hard Day's Night, the Beatles film.
I remember those,
right,
You used to put your bike in it.
Yeah, that's right, and all that kind of stuff, yeah. So we get down to Euston, we come out in the big city, and we wander outside Euston Station at about 9 or 10 o'clock, and the pub across the road is open. Now, this was unheard of in those days. There were very strict licensing laws. Pubs didn't open until 11:30. But this pub just opened. It just had, because there were millions of Scotsmen around. I mean, millions of Scotsmen around. And I think they'd kicked the doors down or something. But I don't know what it was.
I'm sure they had.
But it was all happening. Anyway, we got in with the Scots crowd and, and all this kind of stuff.
It was always a great atmosphere in London, I have to say.
Incredible atmosphere. So anyway, we get on the tube to Wembley, and a Scotsman standing there says, right, Jimmy. I mean, it was literally that, you know, you're right there, Jimmy. And I said, yeah. He said, have a swig. And he handed me a bottle of gin. Now, you would think being a Scotsman, it'd be whiskey. It wasn't. It was gin. And I'd had like 2 or 3 pints. I was about like 19 or something, you know. And I said, oh, I'm all right, thanks. He said, no, Jimmy. No, you're not all right if you refuse a drink from a Scotsman on a day like today. Now have a swig of gin. Oh, right. I know, I swigged this gin. I nearly vomited. It went straight down my throat, and it was very powerful, you know. And, you know, I'll have another one, you know. And it was like that. It was a nightmare. Anyway, got off at Wembley, got into Wembley, and I couldn't find another Englishman. I mean, what Stuart just said there about the Scots taking it over, they took over the whole of the old Wembley. It was just a mass of Scottish flags, tartan, bagpipes, you name it, it was all going on. You know?
And that will never really happen again.
It'll never
happen
happen again.
I don't think they can ever recreate that.
But anyway, Scotland scored, right, and as Scotland scored, all the Scotsmen, who, by the way, had got in all holding full bottles of whiskey or gin or something, all jumped up. And as they jumped up, all the spirits in their bottles came out of their bottles, and so within 5 or 6 seconds, it was raining whiskey and gin all over you. It was the most amazing feeling. It all came down on your face and your head and everything, and you know, the usual thing, passing bottles around. It was disgraceful. At the end, they tore the post down. And my mate and
they took bits of the pitch away. I know people in Scotland who've still got bits of that pitch.
More than bits. My mate and I decided we were going to go to Piccadilly Circus because we were in London overnight. We didn't have a hotel, by the way. Didn't have a hotel. We thought we'd get the next train back, the first train back next morning. Right. We'd go to a strip club in Soho or something like that.
Is that where you ended up?
No, we didn't. No. At the end of the day, my moral compass...
kicked in, did it?
Kicked in, yeah, so we didn't. So we went to Piccadilly Circus, you know. And in Piccadilly Circus, we found a Scotsman lying on what we thought...
And they took over the whole of Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, they
right?
took
the
over everything.
Leicester
Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus, because they'd won, obviously, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And there was a bloke lying on what I thought was like a lilo, a green lilo. It wasn't. It was a 6 foot by 3 foot sod of Wembley turf, which they brought away from Wembley and put on the pavement, and he was actually literally sleeping on it. Yeah. It was
and
amazing.
Like I say, people have still got bits of that pitch now.
Somebody's got the post somewhere, haven't they? Because they were never found. They were never found. Yeah.
Incredible stuff. I mean, I remember stories. Well, I think I told you this story before, that my parents and my sister actually went down to Piccadilly Circus to join in.
To see what was going on.
In those days, it was all quite sort of, it was all quite friendly, really. It was never any serious
it was quite
trouble.
Friendly.
I also remember a great story that was, I think, in the papers around that time, where a load of Scots fans had sort of found themselves in Finchley Road in St John's Wood around there, and they were trying to get to Wembley, and this English guy said, oh yeah, just get in the back of my van. And put them in the back of the van, and they went and parked the van in a side street in St John's Wood and locked it and left it there, and went and left them just to their own devices for a couple of days, and went back and opened it and sort of 2 days later. Yeah.
What, imprisoned them?
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Why?
Well, just thought it was a good laugh. Thought it was an amusing thing to do.
That's a terrible thing to do.
I know, but those were the kind of things that happened in those days.
Well, maybe.
So, I mean, I presume that you're not going to be watching England-Slovenia, but you might be watching England-Scotland.
Oh, no, I'm watching Slovenia. Of course I will, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to go to it, to be honest, but I'll certainly watch it. And of course, I'll watch the Scotland game. It'd be fascinating, wouldn't it, to see about the different levels of football between England and Scotland.
But we'd like to find out as well what's going on with these tickets in Scotland as well, because of the security situation, they've said apparently that you can only go in the England section if you pick up the ticket in Scotland.
That's
and I think there's a lot of people who are now not doing that.
So
if you're one of those and you've been affected by it, give us a call, 08717 223344. Now, coming up in the next hour, we're going to be talking about a great many things, including the comet, because we've got a scientist coming on, Dr. Ian O'Neill, who's going to tell us all about it. And also we'll find out from you about this, what is it, mindfulness, that you're going to explain how you've suddenly got to the point where you think you've found inner peace. Is that it?
What do you mean?
Mindfulness. You've been telling me about mindfulness.
It's not suddenly. I've been studying the readings of the theorists.
Daily Mail.
The theorists. No. The theorists on it for a good number of years,
really?
And I've arrived at a point now. It's a bit like Buddhism, but it's not Buddhism.
A bit like Buddhism?
Yeah.
Which bit of Buddhism is it like?
Well, I'll explain it to you later. It's a bit complicated, and you won't be able to take it in 15 seconds.
No, that's very true. 08717 223344. John has texted in. He says, Mike Graham, you really are a saint. Nobody else in the media would risk their own reputation and future to help a basket case like Porky.
A basket case?
He says, it's really great that you do your bit towards caring the community, but I fear you are wasting your time.
Yeah,
very harsh.
Well, you can't reply to that one. All I'd say is stick around. Somebody's laughing here.
Yeah, I'm afraid we've set the newsreader off. We'll have to try and let him calm down before it's time to do the important stuff.
Just stick around and evaluate what you listen to tonight, folks. Then you will find out who really is the seeker of truth and justice and who is just an imposter.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time, and it's going to be a very, very interesting few hours, because at the end of this show we're heading off to Cheltenham, and we've already got a tip for you. Patrick has texted in. He says, a horse for Porky at Cheltenham today, champagne present.
Oh, right, that sounds okay.
So make a note of that one.
I'm not a great champagne drinker, of course. I don't drink champagne.
Yeah, I've very rarely seen... I don't think I've ever seen you drink champagne.
No, although we're on the champagne train, I will probably...
I'll have champagne, because in the morning that's the best thing to drink. And also you can drink champagne all day, and generally you can keep a sort of level, head about you.
Really? Is that right? Yeah, I don't drink champagne because it affects my heart.
Does it?
And, the bubbles literally could kill me. So I have to... Yeah, I have to stay away from it.
How are the bubbles different from the bubbles in, say, any carbonated drink?
I don't know, but the gas inside those bubbles gives me terrible heartburn.
You know, if you put a lump of sugar in a glass of champagne, it kind of removes some of the bubbles.
Does it?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. And why would you do that for anyway? I mean, if you drink champagne, you drink it for the bubbles, don't you?
Yeah, but some people don't like the bubbles. It gives them indigestion.
I tell you something. I have experimented with this. If I drink champagne in a flute, it goes straight up my nose, straight to my heart. I get heartburn very badly.
Right.
However, if on an occasion, like, for instance... when it's my mum's 80th birthday or something, everybody's holding a glass of champagne.
Yeah.
If you put in one of those flat champagne glasses...
Yeah, like the sort of champagne cocktail glass.
Yeah, that's right. I can just about sip it there.
Do you remember when people used to drink those champagne cocktails, which was a mixture of champagne and brandy? It was very much a kind of 70s thing.
I remember in the 80s, when I was living in Manchester, I was a reporter there for the Daily Express, we experimented with things like champagne, vodka... lemonade.
But all in the same glass?
Yeah, all in the same glass, yeah. Champagne,
what
vodka.
What did you do that
for? Just felt like experimenting with drinks, and it'd send you off your nuts. Yeah. It really would. And perhaps martini.
What did you find was the most toxic mixture there?
Champagne, vodka, martini, and lemonade. And we bought a shaker.
I'm not surprised.
When I'm talking about I'm talking about, you remember Mr. Peter Kent and Roger Taverner? We were all reporters together at the same time on the Express in Manchester.
It sounds a bit like status quo. Yeah, you just sort of sit around trying to get as much out of your head as possible.
Yeah, that's right, actually, because... And do you know what, mate? In those days, we had time to do it. Ridiculously, we worked for national newspapers. We got paid very good money, so we were each able to buy our own houses. We were single men, that kind of stuff. But we worked a 4-day week. The unions had it so stitched up, and so controlled the industry in those days that you would work, for instance... so
you'd have, like, long periods of time when you just didn't work?
I'm just about to tell you. You'd work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you would be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday until the following Monday. Yeah. Every third weekend, you've got a 4-day weekend. In the weeks in between, you've got 2 days off in the middle. You'd work Sunday, Monday, then you're off Tuesday and Wednesday, and you work Thursday and Friday. So you used to spend your
time off experimenting with alcohol?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Because
you're still alive, then.
Yeah, well, it is a bit. And occasionally, one of the other guys' rota would coincide with mine, and even if it didn't, the guy who was working Monday and Tuesday still had Wednesday and Thursday off, if you see what I mean. Yeah. And you just go around doing it. And it was ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And it's no wonder the newspaper industry went bankrupt, because we were taking all the money out of it.
Mind you, they were making a lot more money in those days. They were selling a lot more newspapers.
Do you know, on one occasion, right, I was in Belfast, because I spent about over 12 months in Belfast, 15 months altogether. But at the start, when I went to Belfast when I was a new boy and all that, after I went
Would you still only work 4 days when you were there?
I was about to say to you, after I was there for 2 days, I got this phone call from a bloke who said, "Hello, it's the father here." Thought, the father who? You're in Belfast, religion and all that, Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost and all that kind of stuff. And it was the father of the chapel. Right. That's what the union bosses were called, of course.
Yeah, my dad was one of those.
Was he? Yeah, okay, yeah. But he wouldn't have been like in a journalist chapel. He'd have been in a...
He was in Slade.
That's right. The
compositors. Lithography and...
compositors,
all that sort of stuff.
And he said, "No, you do understand the rules, don't you?" I said, "Sorry, what's that?" He says, "Well, are you coming home tomorrow morning?" I said, "I've only been here 2 days." He said, "Yeah, but your work rotas, you're not working tomorrow, so if you're not coming home, you must just, go, you must have 2 days of leisure in Belfast." I said, "There's not a lot you can do in Belfast, to be honest, in terms of leisure. This city is effectively occupied by the British Army, and there are certain areas of it where you wouldn't actually go for a day out because you'd probably find yourself getting blown up, and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, in the end, I had to fight this battle just to be able to work. Yeah. And by the way, I brought the walls down. I kicked through the first big correction in the newspaper industry.
What, so you were leading the charge against the unions, were you?
Absolutely. I said, "No, I'm working. I'm here and I'm going to work." "Well, you'll get a rough reception when you come home." In fact, when I got home, I didn't get a rough reception at all. Quite a lot of the others wanted to do what I was doing and just get on with their jobs and do it. And so I was a hero, really, and a pioneer to the newspaper industry.
Well, to some, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, why did I start telling you all that?
I've got no idea why you started telling me about that.
It was because of something. Oh, champagne and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. No. Oh, yes. I'm saying. So we had all this time off to experiment making these vicious cocktails, and we would do things like. It's amazing. We'd go to hotels in Manchester and order these cocktails from the bar that we experimented on at home and spend 6 hours drinking them. And then, you could never, ever remember getting home or anything like that. I mean, it was quite ludicrous.
I know, unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff. Now, mindfulness is what you want to tell us about, but I've got a note here from Lee, who's texted in. He says, Mike Parry talked about mindfulness on your show a few months ago. Why is he going over it again?
No, I didn't talk about mindfulness.
I don't think you did.
No. He might have been talking about Couéism. And Couéism? I
don't remember that one.
Couéism was the precursor to mindfulness. And
was it?
That was in the 1920s, 1930s. And I sort of, I took up on that. And the mantra there, Mike, was what you had to do in the morning. You got up and you said 20 times every morning you got up, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. So you'd look in the mirror.
Isn't that a song lyric or something as well?
No, you'd look in the mirror and I would say every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
And
every day, in every way.
You convince yourself of that?
Yeah, because you then have self-aggrandizement and you feel confident and you go about it, okay? But then where mindfulness comes in is it's actually you've got to focus on your inner self. You've got to focus on yourself. Never mind the rest of the world.
Well, that's easy for you to do, isn't it? Because that's all you ever do. All you ever do is focus on yourself. I mean, your entire world is built around you and what you want to do.
No, it's a bit like Buddhist enlightenment, but it's not, okay?
Surely Buddhist enlightenment is all about, other people rather than about yourself.
Well, that's why it's not like Buddhism. But
it's nothing like Buddhism, then.
Well, it is a bit, except in Buddhism, you're around to actually make other people's lives better. With mindfulness, you're around to make your life better.
Right.
And I've turned towards that one now. I've done too much for other people during my life.
Have
far
you?
Too much. Oh, yeah. I've given away like hundreds of thousands of pounds and all sorts of things. So I've decided on myself. And what you do is you commit yourself to the Eightfold Path. And the Eightfold Path, right, is understanding and accepting that life has its problems. It's frustrating. But it also has cultural and social pleasures which you should take advantage of, which I never have done in the past.
Well, isn't all that kind of obvious, though?
No, because in the past, unless it was to do with work, I wasn't interested in accepting...
Yeah, but that's what you're still like, though.
No, I wasn't...
I mean, you told us you were going to go and see that Rembrandt exhibition, for example. I bet you haven't been to that yet.
No, I haven't, no. I wasn't interested in accepting anything that gave me pleasure, if you see what I mean, the satisfaction.
You were guilty. I've always said, I've given you my amateur analysis, and I think because you don't think you actually deserve to get anything good, so therefore you don't go after it. Because you think deep down you're really not a very nice person.
Well, maybe I'm changing it now. What you do now is you've got to get rid of the illusory goodies, you know what I mean? The things that you think make you feel good, like
the smoking
alcohol.
Mercedes.
No.
All the trappings of wealth that you've got.
Well, that's not a trapping of wealth. That, to me, is a vehicle of necessity to get me here and back from TalkSport Towers and all that kind of thing, OK? But, no, what you do is you have to practice the right speech, the right action, the right livelihood and the right effort and pour all that into life. It is a difficult one to understand, and I wouldn't expect you to understand it.
You're not explaining it very well.
No, I am explaining it properly, but I would not... you have to have an anchored perspective, and the anchored perspective has to be the bedrock of your life, OK? And I don't want to talk about it anymore because our listeners will get bored stiff about me rambling on.
So does this mean you're going to be doing this mantra on the train? Are you going to be sitting there coming out with all this, I'm getting better and better every day?
Well, what you'll do is you will find me for 5 minutes saying, excuse me, Mike, from your conversation. I will sit there with my eyes closed, and then what I concentrate on is my own breathing pattern.
Really?
And I count up to 200 breaths, OK? Right. Because I'm focusing on myself and my breathing pattern and what oxygen brings into my body and stimulates my brain and makes me feel worthy of myself.
Well, I might go for a walk when you start doing stuff like that.
Well, you won't walk far, mate, because this will be happening on the train, OK? So, if you take a walk and turn left, you'll fall off the train,
Well,
right?
I'll just take a walk up and down the train. Perhaps I'll go and buy myself a cup of coffee or something.
Well, then you'll have to go into the second-class compartments.
Now, coming up, we're going to be talking about the comet, because it's a fascinating story.
It is amazing.
We've got Dr. Ian O'Neill in a little while. He's going to be telling us exactly how it's all going. It might be going a bit wrong, actually, according to some of the stories this morning, but he's going to explain precisely why they've done all this and precisely what is happening. We've got much more to do as well. We might take a call coming up next as well. 08717 22 33 44. We are the two Mikes as you talk sport.
makeshifts at your disposal if you feel so inclined. Well, alright.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, a little bit later on this morning, hopefully. Terry from Grimsby's texted in. He says, given Porky's dodgy sense of direction, it's a good job he didn't pilot the Comet lander. It would have flown around for 10 years and landed at Goodison Park. Still, it would have been nice for the fans to see some silverware. That's quite funny, isn't it?
Well, actually, I don't mind a bit of a laugh and a shout at this time of night, but I will not have my team Everton being put down. We are a mighty institution. However, this is clearly a massive breakthrough in the scientific world to land this satellite the size of a washing machine on a bit of rock that's still travelling at 40,000 miles an hour.
Incredible.
What I don't quite understand are the distances. It's supposed to be 310 million miles away, but it's been travelling for 10 years. So I worked it out at the speed that the old satellite was going. It should have gone much further. It's been going round in circles or something.
Well, I can't answer these questions. You'll have to ask Dr. Ian O'Neill, who's going to be joining us in a little while. But let's take a call first, though.
Let's
Sean
do that.
Is in Romford, and he's worried about you. Sean, very good morning to you.
How you doing, lads? You okay?
Yeah, hi, Sean. Very good, mate. How are you?
Oh, good, Mike. Thank you very much.
Good.
But I have a little chat with you about the international status of the matches. Do you think it's really important this week? The build-up and the excitement.
Well,
England, Scotland.
The football matches. Well, I think England-Scotland is a choice fixture, which everybody will love the atmospherics around. England-Slovenia is, although amazingly, there's going to be about 85,000 people.
I know.
There,
I can't believe they've sold that many tickets.
Which is fantastic. So it's an event. It's a footballing event and all that, Sean. But the one for me, the colour and the passion and the pride will all be in that Scotland-England game.
For sure. But Mike, do you think that the emphasis of the game has gone because the challenge from Scotland is non-existent?
No, I don't. There is a natural rivalry between England and Scotland. Old MG here was pointing out earlier that people like Naismith now do play in the English Premier League again. So we've got players who are playing against clubmates. For instance, I think there's 3 Everton players in the Irish team. Yeah. There's Naismith in the Scottish team. You know, Coleman, of course, is one of the Irish players, Gibson and Ogidi. And that brings an awful lot of... You know, it was like watching Rooney and Ronaldo in the England-Portugal game and that sort of thing. And that brings all the spice to it, Sean. Why are you worried about my betting patterns, Sean?
Well, I run a charity... Mike, and it's to do with the fobs machines in betting shops.
What machines?
Fobs machines.
Fobs machines? What are they?
What's a fob machine? Stuart, Sean, what's a fob machine? Hello, Sean?
He's gone.
He's dropped off.
I don't know what a fob machine is.
I don't know
what a fob machine?
I don't know.
I know what a fob is. It's a key fob.
A key fob is something that opens a door or something like that. I don't know what a fob machine is.
I've no idea what a fob machine is.
No.
But, no, I mean, I guess what he was going on about there was whether the England-Scotland game will ever be the same as it was like back in the... I don't think it ever will be unless they decide to make it something, massive, like there's a cup played for it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, as you said, the Calcutta Cup or something like that. See, the problem is... that it's all gone because of television. Now, in the old days, when it was the home nations, the 4 home nations, the only television rights were highlights on a Saturday night, a bit like Match of the Day. Yeah. So it didn't really matter how many people tuned in, because it was on public service broadcasting, which is the BBC. Yeah. But now... nobody who's a commercial TV station is going to pay to want to watch Wales play Northern Ireland. With the greatest respect to both those nations.
Well, also because there's so much sport
Yeah.
on TV now.
Yeah, of course there is. Yeah, of course there is. So it would only ever be England versus Scotland, and that would become a bit boring if that was every year.
Now, one thing I want to talk to you about is another person you know an awful lot about, David Moyes. He's on the back page of The Sun. Yeah. Chosen Juan, which is not a bad headline, is it?
Good luck.
The thing that I find amazing about this is that he apparently had another conversation with Sir Alex Ferguson.
Well, that's what he says.
He decided to take the job at Real Sociedad.
Yeah, that's what he says.
We've talked about this many times, and we all agreed, I think, that basically Fergie kind of turned his back on him and left him out hanging out to dry at Manchester United after telling everyone that he was the guy, he was the next manager, and as soon as things started going wrong, it seemed as though Fergie didn't support him anymore.
It's really interesting what you say there, Mike. As I understand it, towards the end, what happened was when David was looking for clarification because he knew the end was coming. The signs had been coming big and bold. He was getting I mean, sometimes journalists have a lot more information than people who are at the heart of the story because they're getting tipped
Well, they're
off.
talking to a lot of people, aren't they?
Well, they're getting tipped off by sources around him. And when David was not being spoken to, frankly, by the people concerned, he was hearing whispers and things. Now, he went to Sir Alexander's inauguration, and I think it's on the record that on the last day of David's employment for Manchester United, Alex Ferguson simply wouldn't take the calls from David Moyes. And you have to say that was probably a kindness. That was probably because he wouldn't have known what to say to him, because Ferguson would have known. He's a director of Manchester United, and he probably decided he was not going to enter into that conversation.
I had a situation like that once when I was up in Scotland, funnily enough. When I was working for the Edinburgh radio station. When I was originally hired, I was the mid-morning presenter.
Right.
And this plot was hatched.
How did anybody ever take a risk with putting you on radio like that?
Well, because they obviously knew that I had some great potential in radio, which was spotted by...
Took a long time to emerge.
Well, it may have taken a long time to emerge, but this plot was hatched, right? The plot was hatched by the people that were in charge of the station.
Yes,
to make me the programme director. And the guy who was the programme director had become quite a good friend of mine, right?
Oh, okay.
And so I knew that they were going to fire him before he did.
Yeah.
And he called me.
Yeah, it's bad news, that. Yeah.
Well, it's very difficult. I'm sure you've been in these situations, and I don't know whether you would have taken the call, but he rang me, and I wasn't there, of course, at the time that it happened, to say that he'd been fired. And it was a very tricky thing for me, because I couldn't tell him that I was going to take his job. And I just had to have a conversation with him about how sorry I was and how terrible it was. It's a very difficult situation.
It is a difficult situation.
Would you have taken the call, or would you have not? And because I did that, I'm still friends with him.
I always try to be as honest as I possibly can about these things, because I hate duplicity. Apart
from when you was stitching up the guy in the Chester Chronicle.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that was because he lacked ambition.
Right. So that was all right then?
Well, yes, because, I mean, he didn't want anything more than what he had. And I just felt, well, it's not fair for him to hang on to that job in such a capacity of lack of ambition. But don't get me wrong, I love David. I think he's a great guy and he's got a very settled life. It was just at that time, at the start of my career, I was fired with ambition. So I was prepared to be...
sometimes you just have to trample on a few people, right?
Well, yeah, OK, if that's what it takes. I mean, I've been on the receiving end of things. I've been on the receiving end of things and I thought, hang on, why is everything suddenly not working out? And then you find months later, if not years later, somebody's putting the boot in on you in a big way and stitching you up, and to your face, they're your best friend. You know, I've had that happen a couple of times.
Well, it must be the same in... I'm sure the football world is very similar. I mean, what did you make of what David Moyes said, though, when he was giving his kind of opening remarks when he was over there, saying that, that the La Liga is now a better league than the Premier League? I suppose he has to say that because he wants to kind of prove to the people...
Well, I thought he did everything right. You know, he held up the blue and white scarf, looked like an Everton scarf. He wrapped it round his neck. He's standing there in his new stadium, which is quite an impressive stadium. And, of course, when he was talking about La Liga and all that, he must have had images in his head of sitting in the dugout at the Bernabeu and the Nou Camp and coming down the Nou Camp tunnel and all that. To that extent, it's very exciting. And it's the challenge he's going back to. He says it was the right one. He also says he was approached by several Premier...
Yeah, he does. Who do you think they were?
Well, I don't know, and he wouldn't be drawn on it because, of course, that means he's talking about somebody else's job. You know, somebody who's in place. I mean, there was a tremendous amount of speculation about him going to Newcastle at one time.
And Spurs as well, before Pochettino got the job.
And Spurs, that's absolutely right. So whether or not...
surely if he was approached by Spurs, he would have taken that, wouldn't he?
How raw could his emotions have been when that happened? You know, maybe a month or two after he left Manchester United, probably felt it wasn't right. And now, look, I wish him the very, very best of luck. I hope that he makes a success of it. But I think it's a huge challenge because in Spain, as we all know, only 2 clubs, or maybe a maximum of 3, get any revenues.
Well, I was looking at a list the other day, and I think Barcelona and Real Madrid get about 85 million a year each. Yeah, and the ones at the bottom get about 14.
If that. Yeah. And that's what he's working against. So you're never going to make a breakthrough in Spain. I mean, in this country, what's the Southampton Core? You know, Southampton's manager.
You mean the Dutch guy?
No, the German.
Koeman.
The German, Koeman.
Koeman, he's Dutch.
No, he's German.
No, he's not German.
Who are we talking about?
The Southampton manager.
Yes.
Ronald Koeman.
Ronald Koeman's Dutch.
He is Dutch?
Yes, he's Dutch, yeah.
Why did you say he was German?
Because I was confusing him with the man who lost his job at Wigan today.
Uwe Rosler.
He
is German.
He's German, yeah, that's right, yeah.
He's got nothing to do with Southampton.
No, nothing to do with Southampton. Actually, they're quite far apart.
He's starting to get delirious already. We've got another 17 hours to go, you know.
Oh, dear me.
What were you going to say about Koeman, anyway? You think he was offered the Southampton job?
No, I wasn't going to say anything about Koeman. What was going to say? Oh, yeah, Koeman, that's right. I was going to say
What's going on?
Well, what I'm saying is Koeman has taken a medium-sized club in this country equivalent to the size of Sociedad, which David Moyes has taken on, but Koeman's got a much, much better chance of succeeding in getting them into the top four as opposed to Sociedad getting into the top four in La Liga, because the distribution of wealth in the Premier League is much more even-handed than the distribution of wealth in La Liga.
It is, that's true. I think it's going to be very tough for David Moyes to actually make his mark there at all.
Yeah.
And speaking of managers, I see from the back page of The Sun as well, Malky Mackay may be in the frame to take over.
I can't see that. I think that story, and I'm not knocking Alan Nixon, whose name is on it, the journalist, that sounds to me typically like an agent dropping a name in somebody's ear.
Yeah.
And just to try and inflate the persona of your client, the client being Malky Mackay. I cannot see Malky Mackay coming back into football in this country for at least another 2 or 3 years.
OK. We've got lots more to talk about. Mr. Mike Porky Parry, we'll try and give him something to calm him down, because he's obviously getting confused at a very early stage of the show. We've got many, many more hours to go. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk to Dr. Ian O'Neill, who is a scientist and a journalist for a range of publications, including Discovery News. He's going to explain to you, perhaps, and to me, what all this fuss about the comet business is about and how they've been doing it, because it's a remarkable story. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, and a story that's been fascinating millions and millions of people around the world over the last few days has been this comet story and the landing of this device, as you say, no bigger than a washing machine, on the top of this comet, travelling at incredible speed, millions and millions and millions of miles away. We're going to talk now to Dr. Ian O'Neill, who is, of course, a scientist and a journalist for a range of publications, including Discovery News. Hopefully, Dr. O'Neill can answer some of our questions about what it's all about and how it's going, because apparently the batteries are possibly going to run out on this thing. So let's talk to him. Dr. O'Neill, very good morning to you. Welcome.
Hi there, thanks for having me on the show.
Not at all. Now, it's a fascinating story, this. Loads of people have been kind of following it, and it was very dramatic when the landing was made, and was it going to stay on, and was it going to fall off, and all of that. But I suppose an awful lot of people, and I would include us in this, are not really exactly sure about precisely what the mission is about and what it's going to tell us.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with comets. I mean, not only is it like a grand technological mission to actually land something on a comet, I mean, it's like firing a rifle bullet halfway around the world and expecting to hit a penny. So this is an amazing engineering feat. So not only have we proven we can do this is the first time we've ever actually landed softly on a comet. We have impacted comets before, but we've never landed on one, not softly anyway. And this is just a grand engineering feat. But also, comets are full of science. They were formed right at the beginning of the solar system. So when the sun formed out of all the gases that kind of all formed together after all the planets formed, these comets were thrown to the outside of the solar system. So they're basically time capsules waiting for us to unlock them and understand what chemicals were around at the dawn of time. So not only does it explain where the planets and perhaps even our sun came from and what chemicals made them up, it may also explain where prebiotic chemicals came from. So that means they could hold the secrets to the origin of life. So kind of cool.
Doctor, listen, this is so fantastic that it's almost impossible to, get it all sorted out in your head. Am I right in saying it's 300 million miles away, and even the landing took place when both the comet and the satellite were moving at 34,000 miles an hour? I mean, it's so incredible. I can't get my head around it. Did it happen by accident? Or did we know that comet was there? There's millions of comets. Did we know it was there? Or did we just ping off this satellite, which is about the size of a washing machine, and hope it would hit something?
Yeah, well, the Rosetta mission, as you say, is formed of two parts. So you've got the Rosetta mission, which is like a satellite with satellite dishes. It looks like a regular satellite. Obviously, it's not a regular satellite. But attached to it is the Philae lander, which, as you say, is about the size of a small refrigerator that you have like in your university dorm room.
Yeah.
It's not a very big mission. So, of course, they had to pick its speed up. So when they launched it, this was actually, 10 years ago they actually launched the thing. The original date, the original timeline, they're actually aiming at another comet, but unfortunately the launch window shifted. So then they end up aiming for this other comet, and I'll just call it Comet 67P because it's got an unpronounceable long name that I'm not going to bother to explain. But they basically then launched it off of the Earth, slingshot it around Mars, slingshot it around the Earth again, and it's basically slingshotted into the outer solar system. Yeah. So it was going at tremendous speeds. It was only done through the help of the gravity of the planet. So it was an amazing mathematical challenge for them to actually do this. But obviously the great minds in European Space Agency managed to do it, and they managed to hit their target.
Well, was it a target? Sorry, this is my point.
Why are you fixating on this?
Well, because this is like a grain of sand. It's like a grain of sand.
This is not the important part of the story, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I mean, this is the thing that I can't even begin to describe what an impossible task this must have seemed.
Yeah.
Because, as I say, it's almost like shooting a rifle bullet from the other side of the planet and hitting a penny. Really, it is that complicated.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a few course corrections along the way so you could actually shape which direction the bullet went to. But that is basically what they did.
Yeah.
And they were able to do it with great precision, and they knew the comet they wanted to go after. 10 years ago, they knew the comet they wanted, they launched it, and they hit it.
Unbelievable.
And also to do it first time, I suppose, is even more amazing. But what about what we've learned so far? Things we've seen pictures coming back. I mean, the front pages yesterday were full of these, very kind of interesting-looking black and white pictures of the surface of the comet. But we're also hearing now that there might be a problem with the batteries on the lander. But what have we learned so far? First of all.
Well, back in August, the Rosetta mission, both portions of the mission arrived at the comet. So it was able to take some close-up imagery. A lot of the images, apparently the best images, have not been released yet. They're being held by the European Space Agency scientists who want to work on it first to actually understand what's going on before they release it to the public. Obviously, that's a bit frustrating for us in the media because we want to see everything, but, we just have to be patient. But so far, with these images we've seen jets being generated by the comet, so we're able to understand that it's actually an active comet. So the sunlight is heating up the surface as it approaches the sun. So we're seeing a lot of ices blasting gas into space. There's gas and dust being produced, which is as you'd expect, but we've never really seen it in this much detail before by a satellite orbiting a comet. And, of course, yesterday we had the separation and landing of the Philae lander, and that's never been done. I mean, this was, as I say, it was an magnificent engineering feat that they managed to achieve. Just hitting the comet softly was amazing. So the first touchdown was good, but unfortunately the landing gear didn't work as planned. So the harpoons that were supposed to go out to hold it in place as soon as it touched down didn't fire. So it basically bounced nearly a mile high and then re-landed a mile away from the original landing site. So this has almost been a lesson in luck because I just cannot believe that this thing actually landed in one piece and it's taking photos. So we're actually getting observations, they're getting data, this is all good. But as you say, there's some problem that it's actually now, because it's not in the landing site they wanted it to land in, it's actually pushed up against the side of a crater wall, like the crater rim on its side slightly. So it's receiving much less sunlight than it should. It's only getting like 1.5 hours of sunlight a day of a 20-hour rotation of the comet. So it's not receiving enough sunlight, and basically the batteries are going to run flat by at the latest probably Saturday.
Oh dear.
So if they don't find a solution, I mean, they're talking about some pretty audacious things. They're actually talking about perhaps somehow collapsing the leg so it actually tops, because remember it's very low gravity on this comet. This thing weighs.
How big is the actual comet?
The comet is like 2.5 miles wide, so it's a fairly big lung.
Like the Isle of Wight.
Yeah,
like the size of the Isle of Wight. Yeah, 2.5 miles.
But the gravity that thing produces is tiny. So this thing weighs as much as a penny over there, even though it's like 100 kilograms.
Golly. Doctor, let me ask another question, please. First of all, are there loads of other satellites on their way to this mission? Because this took 10 years. So have we got a load of others up there that are on their way, maybe halfway through a mission, no. 5 or 6 years into it? And secondly, what about the prospect of putting a man in one of these things so that when the washing machine lands on the comet, there's a guy inside it?
He'd be a very small man, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, but you could have a bigger satellite, couldn't you? And is there a prospect that we can convince some human being to get inside a washing machine for 10 years with the prospect of tipping up on a comet in a decade's time?
Well, there are missions underway, but sadly there's no missions going to this particular comet. This is a one-chance deal, and that was it. There are other missions in the pipeline, but really probably what you mentioned, actually, a manned mission perhaps to a comet.
Yeah.
Perhaps not to a comet, but to an asteroid. NASA is actually working on that right now. They've actually completed the Orion launch system, so they're going to actually test launch this capsule in December, and hopefully by 2018 we're going to start looking at manned missions, and ultimately by the mid-2020s they're hopefully going to send a manned crew to an asteroid.
How long will it take to get there?
Well, this is a great thing. They're actually going to send a robot to capture an asteroid and bring it to moon orbit. They're going to put it in orbit around the moon, and then they're going to send a manned expedition to that asteroid.
I wish I could describe the expression on Porky's face here, because I just literally cannot fathom what you're explaining.
It's amazing. We're going to send up robots to drag planets into our sort of universe.
Well,
it's the same thing.
Yeah, a small asteroid. It's a small asteroid, but there's a lot of politics going on, of course, in the States, with science funding or whatever. So we have to see if it's actually going to happen. But that's the plan. NASA is going to do it.
That's amazing. The last question I wanted to put to you, Dr. O'Neill, is about the funding, because presumably this is a massive sort of a feather in the cap of the European Space Agency, whose previous successes have not exactly been multitude, have they? There haven't been many of them. So I mean, is this going to, with the way that funding has kind of been withdrawn in the States to NASA, and the fact that there's now a lot of sort of private companies getting involved in possible space travel and exploration and all of that. Is it likely that the European Space Agency is now going to become kind of more prominent?
Yeah, I think this mission really put on the map. I mean, you must remember the European Space Agency has done some amazing things. They've currently got a satellite around Mars, the Mars Express orbiter. They're also the only space agencies that currently have a mission around Venus. They got the Venus Express, which actually did back in the summer, actually did an amazing low dive through the upper atmosphere of Venus. And you don't really hear an awful lot about these things. I don't quite know why, but they've been very good with the PR with the Rosetta mission. And I think that's really captivated everybody's imagination. And I think the emphasis of the European Space Agency is kind of different from NASA's, because European Space Agency, of course, is funded by a dozen European nations, and the main focus is science. It's not necessarily manned expedition of the solar system, whereas NASA really spearheads like pushing the envelope of manned exploration of the solar system. Of course, there's science being done. There's a big science directorate that drives NASA. But I think the European Space Agency kind of does things a bit slower, but they put together very big missions, and they're doing some incredible stuff.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Dr.
Fascinating.
O'Neill, thank you very much.
Mind-boggling.
It
Absolutely
really is.
mind-boggling.
I mean, if you were confused earlier about Ronald Koeman, I mean, this has totally blown your mind, hasn't it? I could see you were doing that thing where you rub your forehead and you're kind of trying to take it all in.
I'm telling you, my mind is boggling. It's
but you have to say now incredible. You know a lot more about the story now than you probably did before, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
Dr. O'Neill was very helpful there.
This idea of putting a washing machine on a planet the size of a grain of sand. A comet, that's right. It's just incredible. Do you know what we should do? We should go and empty our jails of really nasty criminals who are serving 25 years and put them in these machines. And
put them inside a washing machine?
Yeah, the equivalent of, and sling them off onto comets. That's what we should do. Offer them the option, right? 25 years, or we're putting you in a spaceship. It would take you 10 years.
Why would that be a choice for them?
Sorry?
Why would that be a choice for them? Because
they could take the choice of staying inside jail for the next 25 years or volunteering for
to be in a very small, confined space that might fire them out into space.
Well, I mean, obviously, they'd have to redesign it to take a man in it, wouldn't it? But you say, look, it's going to take 10 years, but once you're there and you've got there, you can come back. It won't take as long to get back, and then you're free.
Well,
free
what would be the point of that?
Well, because then they win their freedom and by helping science to progress, you know?
I see.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a ridiculous idea.
I think it's a great idea. I think our listeners will agree with me.
It's one of the worst ideas you've ever had. He is Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. There's more coming up. We're going to talk about his shopping habits next.
We're S-H-O-P-P-I-N-G. We're shopping. It's easy when you've got all the information.
Any idea who that is? That's a familiar sound, isn't it?
That sounds to me like Pet Shop Boys.
I think you may be right.
Is it? Yeah.
It sounds to me like Pet Shop Boys.
Yeah.
The Pet Shop Boys.
In a West End town, West End girls.
Yeah, don't do any singing, please. I was quite pleased you hadn't done any singing up until now. Now, I've got a strange tweet here from Lawrence, who's tweeted at the two mics. You can do that, of course, as well. He said the same width as the Isle of Wight. He said the Isle of... And I don't understand this next bit. The Isle of Wight is 25 times 13 miles.
25 miles by 13 miles. Is that what he's saying?
Is he saying it's 25 by 13 miles? Is that
it's not that
the
big.
Whole size?
It's not that big.
Well, you said it was 2.5 miles wide.
Yeah, I can see it from my balcony. It looks about 2.5 miles from where I am. So that's all I'm saying.
It looks like it's only 2.5 miles from Portsmouth.
No. It's about 3 miles from Portsmouth because you've got.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you got it wrong about the width of the. Mind you, so did the scientist. So what does he know about it?
I've got a note here from Tim Buckingham.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tim. It's a different subject, but I thought we should talk about the people who communicate with us in the show. And he says, I'm on holiday in Vero Beach, Florida, Flow, FL, and found Porky's mobile home.
Vero Beach, isn't it?
Vero Beach, yeah, that's what I said.
You said Vero.
And found Porky's mobile home parked outside the hotel, and he's got a picture of this trailer, and it says, Save the Chimps. And
how's your campaign coming along for Tommy?
Well, I'm on it every day.
Are you?
Yeah, free Tommy, the chimp who's kept in a cage
this
in
week,
New York.
Since we last spoke about it?
It's too complicated to go into any detail. But
right. When will you have some news for us on Tommy's release?
I will have tentacles inside Congress soon about Tommy the chimp. Yeah.
You're going after an octopus now.
No. But you know what I'm saying. There's worldwide revulsion at Tommy being kept in a cage, and we'll sort it out.
Okay.
But thank you to Tim.
Are you going to retweet that then, at least, so people can see the picture?
Good idea. Right, I'm doing that right now, folks. Retweeted. I know how to retweet, by the way. And
try not to talk us through it, because it will take you about 5 minutes to do that.
And that's gone somewhere, but I can't.
Gone somewhere?
I don't know where it's
Oh,
gone.
he's lost it again on his phone. Darren, the Spurs fan, says, Mike, like Porky, I found an inner peace and serenity. I surrendered to life itself, and people wanted to be around me. I was like a guru of human well-being. However, last Thursday, I went back to being Mr. Angry because Porky spoiled my Peaky Blinders.
But I didn't.
People are still upset about that.
I wish you people to stop moaning. All I did was watch it at the same time as everybody else in this country. Millions and millions of people.
All I'm saying is that people
8 or 9 million people watched it, and all I did was come in here a few hours later and say, wow, what an exciting end it was, like you would to any other TV show. Now,
that is the spoiler alert. That's the spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I hope you're prepared, by the way, for Porky Vision coming up later on, because we've got to do your review of the week's television.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's not a problem at all.
Here's another text from somebody who doesn't give a name. Wasn't every day in every way I'm getting better and better. Frank Spencer's mantra. I don't know if it was.
Oh, it might have been.
Funnily enough,
I wasn't aware of it then, but I'm looking back now to Frank Spencer. You know, what was the name of his wife? Betty.
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 Now, I can also exclusively reveal to you that just before I came in for this hour of the show, I was handed the questions from the secret auditors who've produced the questions for your quiz on television shows coming up later on.
Oh, is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we're doing TV shows. You were asked to do it on TV shows.
No, I didn't. I didn't ask to do a quiz at all. I think you stitched me up on the quizzes, and I'm not happy with them. Now, I want... no, I didn't ask for anything like that. I didn't ask for anything like that.
Who are you talking to?
Somebody in my ear
but don't talk to the disembodied voice.
Is saying, stop lying, you asked for it on Monday.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember asking for it on Monday.
Well, that's not surprising. You don't remember anything.
Now, I wanted to tell you about my my new shopping system, because I'm telling you, folks, listen to this. You can save yourself hours and hours in supermarkets. What I do now is I shop by colour code, OK?
How do you mean?
Well, on a Monday, I go into a supermarket and I only buy red things.
Uh-huh.
So I buy tomatoes, strawberries, tomato sauce, cans of tomatoes, because tomatoes
There's a bit
are
of
red.
a theme here.
Yeah.
You can't have anything but tomatoes.
No, you can.
What else?
Red gel...
red gel?
Shower stuff, right?
Red shower stuff?
Yeah, red gel shower stuff. And
This is like that Generation Game thing again.
Yeah, hang on.
What else is red?
I'll tell you what else is red.
How about cherries?
No.
Cherries are red.
Cherries. Yeah, cherries could be. And
they are red.
And Smash, because Smash comes in a red cardboard circular.
So you can buy things that are in a red container.
That's what I'm saying. It's colour coded.
Lots of things come in a red container that aren't red.
No. But the container's red, so I only buy red stuff on a Monday. So I go in.
That makes a nice meal, then, doesn't it? Some strawberries, some tomatoes, some tins of tomatoes, some tomato paste, something in a red box.
No, you don't understand.
What on earth are you talking about?
Well, because my brain is triggered. Just go for red things today.
Uh-huh.
So you wouldn't believe how quickly you identify what you want to buy. You put it all in your basket, and you're at the checkout within 5 minutes, and you're away. Tuesdays.
So you end up buying a load of red chewing gum.
Might do. But anyway, Tuesdays blue.
Okay. So what do you get? What's blue that you get?
So Tuesdays is green.
Green.
So on Tuesdays, Fairy Liquid.
Yeah.
Not cauliflowers because they're white, but the other ones.
Cabbage.
Well, there might be cabbage, but the one I was thinking about is
broccoli.
Broccoli, that's it. Yeah. So Fairy Liquid, broccoli. Things like tins of peas.
Well, lots of vegetables are green. Yeah, are you one of those 3 million people they talked about this week that doesn't ever eat vegetables?
Oh, no, I eat a lot of vegetables.
Do you?
I eat a lot of vegetables,
Well, you should be able to get loads of stuff if you're getting for green things. You get green peppers.
Yes, that's right, yeah, but I don't eat peppers. Don't eat peppers.
What about asparagus? Don't like asparagus. So you don't eat those?
Don't like asparagus.
What about green beans?
Is hard and chewy. I don't like it.
Well, you're supposed to cook it.
Yeah, well, you do cook it. It's still hard and chewy.
What about okra?
Okra? I've never heard of okra.
Ladies' fingers, they're sometimes called.
No idea what you're talking about. You've
probably seen them in an Indian restaurant.
Right, OK, dishwasher tablets come in green boxes on sci-fi.
So that's all the vegetables then, just broccoli for green.
And cabbage.
And sprouts.
Love sprouts. Yeah, love sprouts, yeah,
okay.
I do, yeah.
How do you cook those?
Boil them.
Just boil them?
Yeah, cut the tops off them and boil them. It's very nice indeed. So that's great. So Wednesday then could be blue code, OK? So I get hand washing up liquid stuff.
Yeah.
OK, that comes in blue.
You don't need to buy this stuff every week.
Hang on. Bleach comes in blue, Domestos, OK? Right. Other things in blue include...
Blueberries?
Blueberries? Could be blueberries, absolutely right. That's a good one. Thank you very much indeed. Washing powder, not the washing powder, the fabric conditioner. That comes in blue.
You seem to be buying a lot of things that you can't actually eat.
Well, you don't eat everything you buy in a supermarket, do you, fool?
Well, no, you don't. But I mean, all that stuff, you don't need to buy it every week, do you? You don't buy fabric softener every week. You don't buy washing up liquid every week. So far, you haven't got enough to make an actual meal.
No, got everything, because on Thursday it might be brown.
Right.
Now, if it's brown, you're talking about mince, you're talking about
I
steak.
wouldn't buy brown mince if I were you.
No, you're talking about meat. You're talking about meat. Of course you do,
it's gone brown. You're not supposed to eat it.
No, it goes brown when you cook it.
Yeah,
right?
but it's not brown in the supermarket.
Well, it is to me.
No,
it is to me. Stop.
No,
being,
it's red in the supermarket.
Stop picking.
You should buy the mince on a red day.
You're splitting hairs.
No, see, now you're getting confused.
No. I'm not getting confused. Granules of gravy. Sausages, right? I mean...
They could be brown.
Yeah, of course they can.
But honestly, I wouldn't buy meat if it's brown.
Of course they can, and all that. And then on Friday, an orange day.
Orange?
What's orange?
Oranges.
Fish fingers, right? Fish fingers, oranges, you're absolutely right. The other orange thing I get is carrots. Yes, carrots, that's a very good one, well done. And also... a lot of that sort of bubble bath
Jaffa
stuff.
Cakes?
I don't like Jaffa cakes.
Marmalade?
You know, at school they used to call me Jaffa Cake.
Did they?
Yeah, they used to say you're soft on top, mushy underneath.
Really?
And I thought that was a bit hard.
Why did they say that?
I don't know. Because I was discriminated against because I was a child with ginger hair. And the bullying and the oppression I went through as a child.
Well, this may explain a lot about the way you
maybe
are.
It is. Maybe
You've
it
never
is.
said that to me before. You never told me you got bullied for being a ginger-haired child.
I never talk about it. I don't moan about these things. And so, do you see my colour-coded shopping procedure?
I think it's crazy.
No, I don't, because you can do it in 5 minutes instead of half an hour.
Why don't you just go to the supermarket once and pick up everything, and then you don't have to go every day?
Most people go into supermarkets, they wander around in a gormless fashion, looking discombobulated about what they're trying to buy.
You know why that is? Because the supermarkets keep changing everything around. They do it deliberately. Tesco's admitted to doing this, that they actually move things around. Yeah. So when you go through the shop, you have to find yourself going to places you didn't normally go.
I read a letter from some consumer, in one of the newspapers this week, maybe the Daily Telegraph or something like that. It just said that, and they actually mentioned Tesco, they said the number of products now available which are littered all over the shop and which you have to go searching for, make shopping now an ordeal.
Yeah.
Now, this is why I came up with my colour-coded shopping plan, because that's the only way to do it, seriously.
Well, yeah, except
the only way to do it.
Because if you went to go through a massive, one of those really big supermarkets, right? I mean, at what point do you stop? Do you go through every single aisle? Do you go everywhere, or do you only go to specific places?
No, I go up and down the aisle.
So you go through every single aisle?
Like I was walking through a maze, because that's what they are. They're a maze these days, right?
It's been pointed out that you haven't got a white day in your plan either.
Yeah, I've got a white day.
When do you do that?
Sunday. Sunday's the white day, yeah.
But they're only open till 4, aren't they, on Sunday?
Yes, that's right, 10 till 4. Well, unless they're a smaller one, unless they're sort of an express or something like that, know.
So what do you get on your white day, then?
On the white day, you get, of course, bread, OK, because bread is white.
It's also brown. You can get bread on your brown day.
I only eat white bread.
Yeah?
I only eat white bread.
Doesn't surprise me.
I don't like brown bread because it has little things in it which get in your teeth. What's it called? Kernels. Seeds.
Well, you don't have to get brown bread with seeds. You can buy brown bread without seeds.
Well, I worry why bread is brown if it hasn't got seeds in it. It must be a colouring.
Brown flour.
Yeah, brown flour, that's right. Yeah,
that's how they do it.
Yeah, but it's colouring. They've coloured the flour.
They haven't coloured it.
Must have coloured the flour. Flour's white.
No, they've bleached the flour. No, they bleached the flour to make it white.
No, they don't.
It's the other way around.
Don't be
brown
ridiculous.
Flour is actually more natural.
When you take a field full of wheat and you process it and all that, you got white flour at the end. not brown flour.
No, I'm sorry, you're not right.
No, I know I'm right. I've seen it happen, mate. I've been to an old-fashioned.
Watched them making flour.
Yeah, where
Really?
they actually grind it between two grindstones, or whatever they're called.
Millstones.
Millstones.
Funnily enough.
Right, yeah.
It's like you're a millstone around my neck.
Well, no, I'm not at all. But anyway, look. The white day is usually bread. It also can be fish, because you can buy fish that's not fish fingers.
You can, I know, that's
fillets,
true.
Fillets of
well
fish.
said.
And
it's often white.
Yeah, it is.
What about red snapper?
No, and ice cream. I love ice cream.
Do you?
I buy white ice cream.
What about butter?
That? Hey?
What about butter? What day did you get that on? That's kind of yellow. You haven't got a yellow day, so you'd have to have your white bread without anything on it.
No, you don't.
Apart from tomato sauce.
No.
You bought on the red day.
No, you're sort of trying to mock again now.
Well, because it's a ludicrous idea.
I don't know. I don't know why, Mike. No, because you just don't have any breadth of thought.
If you had a yellow day, I thought you sent Mrs. Mop out for all this stuff anyway.
If anybody else has any breadth of thought, all you do is try to deride and mock it, because, frankly, your brain is a flat plateau.
Coming up in this hour as well, I think, Mr. Parry, you should tell us about this plan to safeguard your heart by painting it gold, which people have been expressing some disbelief about.
It's not me that's going to paint it gold. It's a new scientific breakthrough, and it's gold leaf applied to the outside of the heart, which can severely improve, drastically improve the performance of the damaged heart. When you have a damaged heart, if you have a heart attack, or if you have dilated cardiomyopathy like I've got, it kills off some of the muscle in the heart.
Right.
It doesn't work properly.
Well, I don't understand how they could ever possibly paint it, though.
And that's why my heart only works at 1/3 of the efficiency of yours.
Yes.
I don't like talking about it, but you do ask me about it, so I do have to tell you.
It is part of the original Porky bingo thing, of course, your dodgy ticker. It's one of those phrases that you say, all the time.
You can't shy from these things. You have to face up to life. You know, you show me life and I'll look it in the face.
Well, this is why I am, in all honesty, slightly concerned about this marathon that we're about to encounter.
Well, it's your idea, not mine.
I know, because
your idea.
To be honest, I didn't realise it was going to take as long as it's going to take to get to Cheltenham.
I know. You see, you as a fool, you said, you said Cheltenham is only 90 minutes on the train, isn't it?
Well, that's what I thought.
No, said it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
You have to change at
Swindon. It should be quicker though, because it's only 2 hours coming back.
Yeah, I know, but that's a direct train.
So why can't we get a direct train out there then?
Because you can't. We got to change at Swindon. It's the most difficult place in the world to get to, Cheltenham. If you go in the car, you come off at Junction 8, I think, on the M4, the Swindon turning. You go right to Swindon or left to Marlborough.
And then you have to meander up on the 8:30 or something.
Meander through the
8:36, I think, isn't it?
Through the old Cotswolds, through Cirencester, Stow-on-the-Wold.
It's nice up there,
all sorts of places. Well, it's nice, but I mean, it's a an agonisingly long journey. And if you go on the train, you always have to change all over the place to get there.
Well, we might have to get Ben in actually to get him to give us a detailed weather forecast, because as I say, I mean, there's a lot of big storms coming in, and Cheltenham's had problems with the big rain and wind before, haven't they?
Well, I mean, we were there one year when the first day was cancelled because the wind took the roof off the stand.
Mr. Brazil wasn't very happy about that.
He wasn't very happy at all.
He thought they should carry on anyway.
But what we did is we took everybody back to our hotel and we had a huge party.
I'm sure.
For about 40 people.
Yeah.
And TalkSport very kindly picked up the bill. But it was an act of goodwill. It was a gesture of goodwill, for
quite a costly day for TalkSport.
It was a costly day, but I mean, it was.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the last time I went to Cheltenham was years and years ago, and I was still waiting for the Express, funnily enough, and I was invited by your good friend Sir Nicholas Lloyd.
Oh yes.
Who invited all of his executives,
all of
who hated each other, right? And
That's
it was
right.
on a Saturday, and we all got there, and he rang. What was his name? Chris Buckland.
Chris Buckland,
the political guy, to say, "Oh, I'm not going to make it, boys. Sorry." And so we were all left there.
So just get on with it.
Yeah, just get on with it. But it was a collection of people who all just didn't get on with each other.
Right.
So it was like his kind of masterstroke.
All slagging each other off.
Yeah, but I won quite a lot of money that day as well.
In drink, yeah. Well, you keep going on about winning all this money. The proof is in the pudding tomorrow. Now, we've got some great messages coming into the show, right? Thank you very much indeed. First of all, Mick says, white flour is bleached, Mike. MG was right. Another one says, Porky. It's addressed to you, actually. MG, you know why Parry is into chimps, don't you? Talking about my battle to free Tommy the chimp, right? He says he used to advertise PG tips on TV in the 70s, so he's trying to make out that I'm a chimp.
Yes.
I'd be proud to be a chimp.
Would you?
I'd be proud to be a chimp, because there was a programme on this week about apes, I think, or something like that, which I switched on to and I was watching, and these noble creatures...
Not the Attenborough one. Was it the Attenborough one?
I'm not sure. I didn't see Attenborough's face in it, but I didn't watch it for very long. These noble creatures, if we descend from them, I am proud. I'll call myself a chimp any time you like, because being a chimp is an honourable existence on this earth. A very honourable existence,
really?
OK?
Well, how about this one from Keith, who's tweeted at the two mics? He says, how does Porky fit anything in his trolley on a red day when it's full of bottles of wine?
No, I don't drink a lot of red wine.
That's true.
I drink some because it's good for the heart, but I drink more white, actually, the old Pinot Grigio, but not to any extent.
Right.
Another one here from Graham, who says, the Isle of Wight is 25 miles long by 13 miles wide. I bet Mr Parry thinks the moon is only about 3 inches wide. Well, that's all it looks, isn't it, when you look up in the sky? But I see your point there. Thank you very much indeed.
I think you've got a problem with perspective.
But I was talking about relativity.
Yeah, well, Toby from Pompey has texted into 1889, says, tell Porky that the Isle of Wight is 7 miles from Portsmouth and that the Isle of Wight is 10 times bigger than Portsmouth, which is 5 miles across. What he can see from his balcony is the tip of the Isle of Wight.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's true. I'm talking about perspective. Another one here from Taximan. He says the Isle of Wight is 148 square miles, Mike. I'd say that's a lot more than 2 miles wide. Well, you're probably right. Now, Peter here says, just about to call Richard Branson and ask him to launch this into outer space. And he's accompanied a picture with it, which I'll now show to MG, which will describe the picture.
I've seen it, yeah. It looks like a bearded man coming out of a washing machine.
It does. And it's very funny.
Meant to be you.
And yes, indeed. And Peter, thank you very much for that contribution.
I'll retweet that one just in case you can't manage to do it within the next 5 hours.
And Tom isn't too happy that you're on his case, Porky, mate. And this comes from Ryan. And then another picture which shows a griller making a very rude one-fingered gesture.
Yes.
As though, don't bother me and all that kind of stuff. Again, very funny. Keep them coming, please, because essentially this show is all about you listeners. It's not about me and old MG.
Now, this is a question that would have been put by me earlier. So if Porky gets his veg on a Tuesday and meat on a Thursday, how does he make a meal on a Wednesday?
Well, because I freeze a lot of food that I buy anyway.
Do you?
Yeah, because I'm never available to eat when I want to eat. I have to eat
You're
when
never
I can.
available?
Well, if you see what I mean,
Why don't you give yourself more time off then?
Well, I have things to do. Yeah, it's
very difficult.
Well,
here's another one from somebody, David Poole, who says, Mike, why doesn't Porky just have an intelligence day and write a shopping list? For failing that, he could have a lobotomy.
Well, never mind the lobotomy thing, that's an insult. But I've just explained the reason why shopping lists are so troublesome, because you spend hours walking around supermarkets. What I do is I say, right, it's red day, just get everything red. It's blue day, get everything blue. It's yellow day,
but it's very
get everything yellow.
It's
not
inefficient.
inefficient.
Means is that you're walking up and down the aisles every single day.
I'm not. I'm just getting, I immediately hit on what I want to buy. I don't stand there examining 18 different cans of peas, deciding which can of peas to get. I just get them because they're green.
So if you were on a green day, how would you know that you were not going to go down every single aisle to find the things that are green that you don't know are green or you don't know are there?
I shop in places that I'm familiar with, and I know exactly where to go.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They keep changing it around. Every single supermarket I've ever been to, they change it around so that they make you buy more stuff that you don't want.
I'm not aware of that. Or maybe I'm smarter than the average bear and I can psych these things out, and where things are.
Seems unlikely.
Another one here from David Hesketh. That's a good name, Hesketh. Who was Hesketh?
Hesketh was a racing driver, wasn't he?
Lord Hesketh was the racing team manager.
That's right, yeah.
And his driver was James Hunt.
What do you make of your hero, by the way, Lewis Hamilton, who didn't manage to win the last race, and now it's getting very, very close for the Abu Dhabi double point scenario?
I think this double point scenario is ludicrous.
Yeah, but it's now very exciting, isn't it? Because either one of them could end up as the champion.
Yeah, but considering that Hamilton's won he won 5 consecutive races till this one, considering he's won 10 this season, more than any other British driver ever in a season, the idea that he won't be world champion now is gerrymandered to stop a Brit winning it.
No, because if he wins the last race, he'll be fine.
Gerrymandered. Another one here from David Hesketh. I was about to say that James Hunt won his first ever Grand Prix in a Hesketh car.
Did he?
Privately funded by Lord Hesketh. It's never happened since. And
I think now you'd have to be incredibly wealthy to privately fund a Formula 1 team.
Of course you would. Right, it says here, Porky, you can't come back to Earth after a journey like that satellite because your bones lose density and the gravity would kill you.
Really?
Well, how do people get back from the moon then?
Well, that's not the same situation, is it?
Of course it is. It's a planet.
Further
it's
away.
out there.
It's not a planet. You said that before. The moon is not a planet.
What's the planet?
It's
the moon?
a satellite. It satellites the Earth.
You're getting technical again. Right, it says here, and this is a great one, thank you, from DOR. Right, another great idea from old Porky. Let's send our hardened criminals into space. Have you not seen Superman 2 with General Zod? Now, that was a great film, wasn't it?
I can't remember Superman 2 very well.
Oh, well, what happened was these 3 criminals were sentenced by the World Court to eternal exile. So they're then put into, a time cube and shot out into space.
Uh-huh.
And the reason that they get freed is because, do you remember, Superman rescues a nuclear explosive from the Eiffel Tower.
I don't remember the film at all, really. Or maybe I haven't seen it.
Maybe you haven't seen it. What happens is a nutter places a nuclear explosive on the Eiffel Tower to blow up the whole of France, right? Which it would, of course. Certainly the whole of Paris, anyway. Yeah. So Superman is alerted. He gets over the Atlantic in 5 seconds flat. He grabs the explosive device before it's, as it's about to explode. Heads off into space, casts it way out into space, and the nuclear explosion blows up in space. But what it does is it shatters the captive cubes that the three criminals have been put into. They've just been put into captive cubes for exile in eternity.
But don't they die then?
No, they don't. They're freed from these cubes, and then they come back to Earth, but they've got superpowers by now, even greater than Superman. Do you see what I mean?
See, that's another bad point of your story then. So you could send criminals up into space and they could come back as superhero criminals.
Well, I doubt it, because it's not that advanced. All I'm saying is, if a bloke is facing 25 years in jail, and you went to him and said, right, you're quite an intelligent man. We want to put a bloke on a bit of rock 320 million miles away, I'm sorry, but it'll take 10 years to get there. But once you're there and you've done it and you come back, you're a free man, I'd take that option, wouldn't you?
Well, didn't Dave there just say that you couldn't come back because you wouldn't be able to?
I don't think Dave knows what he's talking about.
Really?
Density of bones and all that. How would you know?
Density is one of your professional subjects, really, isn't it?
Right, here we go. It says, now then, Porky, here's me thinking that you had porkyitis where because of your short arms you could never reach your bottom pockets. Now we're here, you've given away hundreds of thousands of pounds during your lifetime. So I think he's trying to point out that I'm a bit of a hero,
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to do. But coming up next, we're going to try and pick you a winner for Cheltenham later on, because we're going to be joined by Sam Hyland, who's an ex-jockey. He's now a pundit for an Aussie TV station.
Excellent.
And he's going to be telling us how well he knows Cheltenham and what the going is going to be like. I think it's going to be pretty soft, isn't it? This is Talk Sport.
And they're under starters order. And they're off. Talk Sport. Go!
Better off betting on a horse than betting on a man. Ask any bookie, that's better than betting on a man.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics, and some might say rather unwisely, after this show is over, we're getting on a train, we're going to Cheltenham, and we're going to be chancing our arm. We're going to be on H&J, of course, as well, but also around that, there'll be plenty of opportunities to try and pick the odd winner.
Yes.
So what we thought we would do is talk to a man who knows a bit about picking winners, Sam Hyland, former jockey, now a pundit on the TVN channel, 552, and we're going to say good morning to Sam. Hi, Sam.
How are you, boys?
Yeah, very well indeed, Sam. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We are looking forward to a great day at Cheltenham tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's terrific. Obviously, a terrific couple of days racing, or 3 days racing there for the Open meeting. So it's where you'll find a lot of the festival hopes sort of kick off for their preparation, and big crowds. I guess it's probably it's behind the Cheltenham Festival. This is the next best thing, and it'll be great. It'll be a great meeting to be great for you to be there and be amongst it.
Yeah, it's Countryside Day apparently today, and then the Paddy Power Gold Cup is, of course, on Saturday. Hopefully, we'll have managed to get out of there by then, unless we have to stay the night. But one day is always fabulous. The trouble with Cheltenham, when I've been there this time of year, is that it can often be a bit wet, a bit windy, which obviously affects the going, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does, and I haven't sort of heard the report on what the going is there going into today's meeting, but obviously in the last I've been to the last 4 Cheltenham festivals, and it's the first couple of days is always a bit chilly, and then I know 2 years ago it was freezing. That the first couple of days was there was even a bit of snow about, so. But they get the covers out on the track to stop the ground from freezing up, and it's such a beautiful racecourse, picturesque town, and it's a terrific town, and especially at that time of year. And obviously this weekend it'll be really pumping.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely a great place to be, Sam. What about the quality of this meeting in terms of the actual bloodstock that we're going to see there, Sam? I mean, is it becoming a significant meeting, the autumn meeting at Cheltenham? We all know about the festival, obviously, in March. That's a precursor to the Grand National meeting, which then comes up in April. And this meeting we're going to tomorrow is moving up the old scale of important meetings, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, this is, you want them to, this is where you want horses to sort of fire up. They're really competitive races. They're all really strong races, and you want horses to, to obviously fire over the next 3 days and then carry on for the rest of their preparation. And as you say, they're going to be looking at races for the festival, and it's always, if you've got a horse that's effective at Cheltenham, it's a bit of a tricky track, so it's always good to have a horse that is gets around the track or knows the track well. And if you have a horse that is effective at Cheltenham and then it sets them up, holds them in good stead for, obviously, the festival.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking, I think. I mean, I really don't pretend to know much about horse racing at all. But I've always been quite successful when I bet, because I tend to bet on the jockeys more than I do on the horses. Is that a good idea this weekend, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I suppose whatever tickles your fancy. If you're following the leading jockeys and leading stables, you're never too far off the mark. But it's always good to knuckle into the form and get in amongst it. So it's I think there's and as I say, they're really good races over the next 3 days. So you've got plenty to work with, and they're good horses going around at this meeting. So it'll be a cracking 3 days ahead.
It certainly will.
Well, thanks very much indeed, Sam.
Thanks,
We're very much looking forward to it. Sam
Hyland
there, former jockey, is now pundit down under with some.
That's right.
With some racing
so this theory yours, then. So which jockeys you got your eye on tomorrow?
Well, I haven't really looked at the card yet, to be honest.
Well, what are you talking about then? Why are you giving our listeners such utter nonsense? I don't really look at the horse. I look at the jockeys. Name me a couple of national.
I would go. I mean, Tony McCoy, obviously. If he's racing in any race, is always worth a bet. But
and are they racing tomorrow?
I don't know. I haven't looked at the card yet. Why don't you tell me?
Well,
I assume they will be.
We have been invited to a prestigious meeting by Hawksby and Jacob, our good pals, and their sponsors, Paddy Power, right? Yeah. And you are so dilettante about it, you haven't even bothered to look.
Dilettante?
Yeah.
Dilettante is not actually an adjective.
You haven't even bothered to look at which jockeys are running.
Well, I'll tell you why I haven't bothered.
And that's because you are so ignorant of bloodstock, of the racing world.
That's true. I don't pretend to know anything about that.
Why do you talk such nonsense?
Because we're going to be on a train for a long time in the midst of you doing
I don't think Ruby Walsh is even appearing at this meeting.
Well, I don't know whether he is or not. I'm just telling you what I generally do. If I don't recognise any of the jockeys, right? If I don't recognise any of the jockeys, then I'll go with just a name of a horse that I quite like the look of.
I just don't
and all I can tell you is that, having been to Windsor with you, where you won absolutely nothing, right? And I won about 500 quid, then your system is clearly no better than mine.
I just don't think you should come to and spout such ignorance.
It's not ignorant. There's loads of people who bet on horses. You don't have to be an expert on horses to be able to bet. I mean, people bet on the Grand National because they like the name of a horse.
Is Whaley Cohen one of your favourite jockeys?
Not particularly.
Twiston Davis?
Not really, no.
Geraghty?
No.
No, you see, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I really don't think you know what you're talking about.
Who are you going to back then? Which horses have you looked at?
Well, I'm not going to tell you.
You're not going to tell me?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
You're going to keep it to yourself?
You don't understand, Mike. The prime, it's like playing poker.
Is it?
If I started spouting off now which horses I've got my eye on, right, bookmakers' odds suddenly go down or go up depending on the reaction I get to it.
Really?
So I'm keeping my cards very close to my chest.
Oh, well, that's nice of you.
Okay.
So we're not going there in the spirit of kind of brotherhood then? You're not
I'm not sharing anything with you.
So if somebody gives you a tip while we're there, you're just going to keep that to yourself, are you?
Yes, because you might go and tell somebody else who tells somebody else who tells somebody else. Suddenly I see the price on my 14-1 horse, shooting downwards, 8-1, 6-1, 4-1, because you've opened your big fat mouth and gone around telling people after a few glasses
which
horse an expert, has told us is going to win a race. No, I keep it all to myself, mate, and I'm not going to share it with you.
But I'm not going there in order to win money. I'm going there to have a nice day, and if I happen to win some money, then that'll be great. So it doesn't really matter to me what the odds are. It just means that if you have a fun day, some of the races you win, and most of them you win, then it's great.
There's a horse here for Mr. Brazil.
Is there?
And it's in the Paddy Power Handicap Chase. It's called Going Concern. But guess what the name of the jockey is?
What?
A Wedge. I can't believe it. Seriously.
Well, we'll have to go through this in some
because
detail.
Al always talks about taking his wedge with him. How much money are you taking to this meeting?
A couple of £100, probably.
Couple of £100? Oh, blimey, So you've got 80 or 90 quid to waste on a bottle of champagne. You're taking a couple of £100 to Cheltenham tomorrow.
Well, is that too much?
I think
it's too much.
Are you going to feed your children this weekend?
Yeah, probably will,
yeah. What with?
with lots of food that I bought from a supermarket without colour coding it.
I don't know. Yeah, honestly, your sense of social responsibility
how much money are you bringing with you?
I'm really not prepared to tell you.
Oh, you're
that.
not prepared to.
No.
You want to ask me, but you don't want to give away what you're bringing.
Well, the point is, you see, I have accounts that deal with this for me.
Really?
I don't deal in a lot of cash.
Right.
And I can just whisper in somebody's ear in the Paddy Power box tomorrow, and it'll all be sorted.
Well, don't you still have to actually put it into your account?
It's all electronically sorted.
Electronically sorted, yeah. Well, I've got accounts as well.
Yeah.
But, I just thought I'd bring cash just in case.
Yeah, well, I always think it's a bit boastful walking around flashing cash around. You know what I mean?
Really? And boastful's certainly not something that you would ever be.
Trying to impress people, about how much you've won and all that. I'm not into that.
Well, what if we want to tip the waiters in the restaurant that we end up in?
Oh, I'll have a bit of cash for that.
No,
mean, I have...
you should have to give them all 20 quid, don't forget.
I have goodwill money. There's no problem there, but basically, when you're a punter like me, you don't really deal in
So when was the last race meeting you went to?
Cash.
When was the last race meeting you went to?
The last race meeting I went to, that would be...
Obviously not recently enough to remember.
It would have been an Epsom meeting, an evening meeting at Epsom in the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quite
Definitely.
a long time ago.
Oh, no, but look, man, we've all got busy lives, busy lives.
We have. So how did you get on that night?
I got on well.
Did you?
Yeah, and I'm going to another meeting soon as well.
Are you?
And it's not actually horses, it's dogs.
Oh, really?
And I'm going to Romford.
Oh, you're going with the Romford Pele?
I'm going with the Romford Pele, old Ray Parlour, and Monsieur Brazil.
Yeah.
And we are going there for a night out and, to have a look at a bit of, what do you call dogs? They're not bloodstock, are they?
Greyhounds.
Dog stock, I suppose.
Dog stock? I don't know what you call them.
I don't know what you call them. Canine.
Canine stock?
Canine stock, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose
no
so.
idea.
And that's a bit of a twist, obviously, on the horse racing thing. It's a lot smaller, of course, a greyhound track to a race.
Do they have a winner's circle as well? And do they have a place where you can look at them before they race?
Yes, they do. Yes,
walk them around.
Yes, they do. Oh, very much so. Very much so. I tell you, who was big in that for a long time was our old mate Gary Newbon, right? Because Gary had a very successful career as both a sporting journalist and a presenter of other programmes. And then, towards the end of his magnificent career, and Gary still does a bit here and there, he was doing the greyhound racing on Sky. And it was great. Used to go to see him at some of these meetings and absolutely terrific atmosphere.
Yeah, people say it's great. I've never been, but well, maybe you'll invite me to that meeting.
But
perhaps.
I have to say, Cheltenham is a special place. Our pal there, the tipster from Australia, was saying what a special place it is, and it is absolutely special. The sense of awe that I have when I walk into the Cheltenham course is utterly amazing. It's a fantastic feeling and a fantastic atmosphere to be there. I'm so grateful to H&J.
Well, I hope you'll be able to contain your excitement.
And of course, to Paddy Power.
Yes, of course. Yeah. We've got lots more to talk about. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to talk about this ridiculous FIFA report. We're going to have a look at the back pages, how they're dealing with it. And we're going to be joined by a journalist in the Middle East who's going to tell us what they're making of it all over in Qatar. This is TalkSport. Talk Sports Extra Time. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We've been looking at some of the headlines in the papers. FIFA are a total joke. Whitewash. Incredible Dyke hits back at FIFA fast.
Damn disgrace.
Loads of what can only be described as shocking headlines, really, about this report and the way it's been received. We're going to go across to Oman now and catch up with Joe Morrison to find out what's being said out there, if anything, about the way that that this report has been kind of... What as far as Garcia, the investigator, is concerned, has been effectively kind of filtered by the German judge. Joe, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you two boys.
Yeah, morning.
Thanks very much for joining us, Joe. I mean, I suppose in Qatar there would be people saying, well, we told you there was nothing untoward about what we did, but the most remarkable thing, I think, about this particular story is the way that Garcia has kind of slammed the way that the report has been presented by FIFA.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're totally and utterly right. And I don't know how they ever thought that they would get this passed, how they would be able to sweep it under the carpet without Garcia saying anything. And, the guy has got his own integrity and his own credibility to think about as well. He's a well-respected lawyer, so he's not going to just sit back and keep quiet if they've kind of twisted what he said.
I mean, the sadness about this, Joe, is that even when it becomes clear, when all the mist has gone away and it's clear that this is a ridiculous report, hand-picked pieces and paragraphs taken out of a report which actually says something else quite different, nothing is going to happen because Blatter and FIFA have such a grip on world football through this organisation, which is now so dodgy that it's impossible to reform it. Nothing will happen.
Oh, I totally and utterly agree. And this, what gets me, I think, more than anything, Mike, is that I think, especially as Brits, we're just getting a little bit lost into what the real issue is. Look, there's been a couple of bids made. There's allegations of collusion, corruption, everything that's gone on. Now, this happened in the run-up to the Salt Lake City thing with the Olympics, the Salt Lake City Olympics. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, they should draw a line in the sand and say, look, these two World Cups are going ahead, like it or lump it. However, the most important issue that seems to have got lost in this fog of allegations is the bid process. It is the bid process that is fundamentally wrong, and it still hasn't changed the bid process.
But the strange thing is, Joe, as well, that, recently what we've heard is that, post-2022 in Qatar, the 2026 one is likely to be the United States, and the 2030 one is likely to be shared, I think, between Uruguay and Chile, possibly, or possibly Uruguay and Argentina. And it seems as though, they've already kind of taken a decision that maybe the bid process won't go on for those.
Well, you know what? Sepp Blatter is a moron. I've said that all along, and I still stand by that. He's the biggest moron on the planet. The fact of the matter is, and I've got to hold my hands up here, I actually have agreed with them all along about taking the World Cup to new territories. It should go to new territories. Who says it should always go to just Europe and the traditional places? And you've got to applaud them for taking it to Southeast Asia and to Africa, irrespective of what's happened. But it should still go through a clear bid process. One member, one vote.
Yeah. There's got to be some legal challenge to this, Joe, from some, international legal board. And then the bidding process, which you've just talked about, must be taken away from FIFA and given to an independent body. Now, that independent body could, for instance, be the organisation in this country which organises elections, you know what I mean? Except it would have to be on a worldwide scale. What I'm saying is nobody who is an officer of FIFA should in any way be involved in the bidding process at all.
I totally and utterly agree. But the problem with law is, as you probably well know, the problem with law is it comes down to who's got the biggest pot of cash to defend a case.
I know, yeah.
And if you're going against the likes of Qatar, you are never, ever going to win in whatever court you go up against in the world, because they'll have better barristers, better lawyers, and all the rest of it that comes with that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What I'm trying to say is that you were saying right off now, the two next World Cups they do. I would say also, right off any idea of trying to reform FIFA. The tentacles of maladministration stretch so far and deep into that organisation that you'd have to set fire to it and start again. But the minute you start again, with the amount of money there is in football these days, would only mean that new organisation would only be sane and sensible for a couple of years before it all went down the same road.
It operates a bit like I don't want to make this comparison maybe too strongly, but it operates a little bit like one of these rogue states, whereas because it's almost as big as a country. It's got a budget as big as half a dozen countries,
It does,
and it's just like nobody can control FIFA. It's like Spectre, the old man from Uncle's enemies.
I agree.
Blatter's a quasi-dictator, isn't he, really? You can see
he kind of is,
stroking his white cat. I mean, the thing is, there is a glimmer of hope, and I'm just putting this out there because it may sound completely and utterly absurd. I know I did an awards ceremony with Sepp Blatter 3 or 4 years ago, and one thing you get from the guy is he's really, really, really bothered about his legacy. He really is bothered about that. And obviously he's going for the presidential nomination again next year, and it looks like he's going to get it as well. The glimmer of hope, and like I say, it's a shot in the darkness, but my glimmer of hope is that he might want to try and right all those wrongs the tarnish of his reputation, forget FIFA's reputation, his own reputation, by doing that. I don't think he expected the ExCo, really expected the ExCo to come out with what they did after that last bidding process. And I don't know how he didn't think that, because obviously he's in charge of them. But it was in charge of a rabble that's kind of taken off on its own tangent, That's what I feel. It's a long shot, but that's what I feel.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible stuff. Joe, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Jerome Champagne was on TalkSport a little bit earlier. He's the one guy who may go up against Blatter. It's not clear whether he would win or not. But, I mean, he's kind of shocked by all of this as well. And he said that, he wouldn't have voted for Qatar. And he said that basically it should go, if it's going to go anywhere where it hasn't been before, it should go to China, which makes sense, because China is a place where they're trying to kind of bring football up to the same level as it is here.
South Africa was justified. I went there and I covered the South Africa one. It was a big success, and as our guest Joe said, take it to new places and all that. But they've got to be responsible enough to host it. You can't host a World Cup in Qatar.
No.
I've been there, man, and I'm telling you, that's not even as big as the Isle of Wight.
Yeah.
It's not even as big as the Isle of Wight.
2.5 miles across.
It's not even as big as that, and you've got to put 12 football stadiums on it, and air conditioning.
And they're supposedly building those now. We know what the problems are with that, but we still haven't yet had from FIFA or from anybody else the definitive date of when it will be.
No, absolutely.
They're now talking about having it in the spring, so that the Champions League
American
would be put
TV networks can't handle that. Now, what you just said is absolutely right about them being like a rogue state, like Schmersh or Spectre or something like that. But you're so right, mate. They are like the Kremlin.
Yeah.
In the sense that, do you remember when we had a delegation here, the FIFA delegation? They closed off Park Lane so that old Blatter could get from the Park Lane Hilton to the other side of town in specially sponsored cars, almost like in Russia. They have a ZIL lane in the middle of the roads for government cars
in
only.
In Brazil, they had the FIFA hotel, and nobody else was allowed inside it.
Absolutely.
And certainly nobody was allowed to question
You
Sepp
are
Blatter.
absolutely right. They are more powerful than countries, FIFA. They are more powerful. They are like the Vatican. They are like the Kremlin. They are like some secret society, as you say. Who was the... Spectre is the James Bond one, isn't it?
No, well, maybe it is, I thought it was the Man from U.N.C.L.E. one. Is it? Yeah, Spectre is the James Bond.
Spectre's the James Bond one. Schmersh is...
Was that the Man from U.N.C.L.E.?
Oh, that was the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yeah,
Smursh. I think you're right.
I'm mixing up my...
Napoleon Solo, Ilya Kuryakin.
Yeah, I used to have a Man from U.N.C.L.E. car, actually, where they both popped out of it.
Oh, I didn't. I had the Avengers car, the little white Lotus Elan, Emma Peel, and the Bentley that Steed drove. Yeah. And I had a James Bond, like most kids of my age, had a James Bond 006 07 Aston Martin. Yeah.
With the ejector seat in it.
With the ejector seat, I had an ejector seat in it, yeah.
Now, coming up...
Used to spring out the car,
Yeah, coming up, we're going to talk
That'd be a great thing to have, wouldn't it? Have an ejector seat in your car.
An ejector seat. You'd love that, wouldn't you?
I would. I'd love it. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Because if somebody said, "Oh, would you mind giving me a lift home?" You could just eject them out because you've got no interest in helping anybody.
And I'd say, "Yeah, watch this, mate! Bang!" But I make sure they had a parachute that.
That's very kind of you.
So they floated down okay. But it would be great if somebody really annoyed you all day. Say, "Yeah, let me give you a lift home." And then they say, you know what you said before? I don't agree with you. Do you know how badly you've upset me? And then you flick open the lid on your gear stick, if you've got a gear stick, you press the red button.
Well, you've seen that scene in Skyfall, I presume. You know the scene in Skyfall? I don't know if you've seen Skyfall, have you?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah, where they find the old Aston Martin that's hidden away in the garage.
Yes, that's right,
he gets into it with M.
That's right.
She says, have you still got that? And he flicks it open and he's still got it in there.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But he doesn't eject her out. He drives her to Scotland instead.
That's right, yeah. I don't know why they did that.
Where she gets horribly attacked.
That was a part of the film I couldn't understand. If you are MI6, you should be running away from criminals up to Scotland. You should get the boys around to sort them out. I mean, ludicrous.
Yeah, well, don't forget that the police weren't able to do that. He was pretending the criminal was already dressed as a police officer, and they just had to get out because he had cut into their computer system so he could track everywhere they were.
Yeah, but the idea that they were holed up in a Scottish mansion and had to protect themselves against the forces.
No, he did that deliberately. He wanted to lure them there.
Yeah, I know. But then he should have actually told the SAS where he was going, and a couple of Chinook helicopters should have suddenly appeared on the horizon. All the boys come down the ropes from the Chinooks, come in, and literally smash the hell out of the villains. That's the way it should have happened.
Yeah, well, they couldn't have done that, though.
I thought it was a faulty plot.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Well, maybe you should write your own James Bond film and get them to actually put it on for you.
You and I between us could
write a James Bond screenplay.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
I think it's easier said than done.
Without a shadow of a doubt, mate.
Now, coming up in this hour, you'll be pleased to know that we have got the Porky quiz. The questions have all been submitted and they've been verified and passed by the independent quiz masters. I've got them here.
And our listeners listeners want to know about the gold-plated heart valve that could save my heart.
Well, yeah, you've got to explain that.
Could give me a few more years, you know.
You've got to explain
Could
that,
do.
yeah.
Could
And also,
do.
we're going to talk to Carlton Palmer looking ahead to that England-Slovenia
That's right.
game and lots of other big games as well. And also, you've got something about hitchhiking you want to talk about.
Well, I want to
as well.
talk to you about hitchhiking. Hitchhiking's on the rise again.
Is it?
I was talking to somebody from the AA just the other day who said,
Why?
Hey?
Why were you talking to somebody from the AA?
Because I do. I talk to these people about various things.
What, you just ring them up?
No. It was something to do with, with development in life.
Broken down?
No, I haven't broken down.
It wasn't the AA man you were talking to?
No, my cars don't break down. And what he was saying is it's on the rise again, big style, because of austerity and immigrants.
I thought austerity was over.
No, it's not over.
I thought for the first time, wages have now started going up again.
Well,
I saw that report the other day.
Well, if that's the case, it's only just happened. So I'm talking about the previous 12 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got some great hitchhiking stories.
Have you?
When I was a kid, I used to hitchhike all over the place to watch Everton. And I used to hitchhike when I was a student at the
I don't really see
University of the
hitchhikers
Trent.
when I drive around on the road.
Oh, yeah, I see him, yeah.
Mind you, you wouldn't be any point in hitchhiking around Sussex at the moment. They keep closing all the roads off. Yesterday, they've closed off a couple of the roads around where I live, the town where I live.
Terrible.
Which have completely knackered the area.
Terrible.
It takes about an hour to get somewhere you used to take 5 minutes to go.
It's shocking.
And starting, I think, on Monday, they're going to shut the A21, which is the only road down to Hastings. It's the only road you can go on.
Well, one of the
shut it.
One of the main approach roads into London centre, which is Streatham, right? I don't know, is that the A something or other? And they've just closed the whole thing overnight.
Is it the A23 or something?
A23, that's right. You have to go on a massive diversion. It's a scandal, absolute scandal.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mics on Extra Time. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. We've got a big hour coming up because it's the Porky quiz, of course, and that's when we give Porky a little bit of... see how much knowledge he's got of TV shows. Also, we're going to talk about hitchhiking in this hour as well. And,
Sweet Hitchhiker!
You want to hear that Sweet Hitchhiker song?
That was a great song by Creedence Clearwater Revival. It was honestly
I don't think I know
smashing.
it, actually.
Yeah.
I know a lot of their stuff.
Who were the guys in Creedence? Were Fogerty? John Fogerty?
Yeah, John Fogerty,
And Carl Fogerty?
I don't know who else.
Yeah.
John Fogerty's the only one I know.
No, John Fogerty and Carl Fogerty. And they had the most distinctive guitar sound, on things like Bad Moon Rising.
Great.
Bad Moon Rising, Sweet Hitchhiker. What was the other one? Bad Moon Rising.
Have you ever seen The Rain, that one?
The big wheels keep on turning.
That was Proud Mary.
Mary keeps on buying. Yeah, it was great. And there was another great one. Have
you ever seen The Rain?
Have you ever seen The Rain? It's good.
That was a good one.
Willie and the Street Boys.
Yeah, I don't. Well, you're obviously a much bigger fan of
Willie and the
Creedence
Street
Clearwater Revival
Boys
than
are
I am.
coming. Willie and the Street Boys.
Did you ever see them?
No. They were an American group. I don't think they ever came here.
Did they?
No, I don't think so. And the other great one, because I had a Vauxhall Viva, right, and it was virtually new, silver with a black vinyl roof. Yeah, listen to this. Yeah, listen to this. See? Now that's great, isn't it?
It is. I don't know this one actually.
Yeah. No, it's great. I've got Creedence Clearwater Revival's greatest hits.
Yeah, of course you have. You've only got everybody's greatest hits.
Hang on, in two parts. It's two separate discs. Absolutely marvellous. The other one I was talking about was. And
you play it in the car.
No, I don't play it in the car. No, it's a disc at home.
Well, have you got a CD player in the car?
Yeah, of course I've got a CD player in the car. But I've also got an iPod I can plug into the car.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You actually know how to work an iPod?
No.
I'm staggered.
My nephew does, and he fitted it for me, so that's okay. And it was called... I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a really good song.
Starting to lose the plot now.
It was the first song I ever played.
It's only 4:00. You've got to go for another 12 hours.
I know. It was the first song... Another 12 hours? Oh, yeah, you're right, yeah. It'd be...
Well, longer than that,
14
actually.
or 60 hours before we get home today. No, it was the first one I played in my Vauxhall Viva car, and I got so excited about it, I crashed into the pub wall in my new car.
Now, ever since you've been doing this 5-hour spectacular with me, right?
Yeah.
Considering that you once told me you'd never ever crashed your car, you've now confessed to at least 4 separate crashes.
Yeah,
one of which you had just the other week. But you've crashed the office car. You don't drink any Red Bull. It's a bad idea. It really is a bad idea if you drink Red Bull. It's bad for your heart, apart from anything else.
No. I like the taste of it.
Well, you may like the taste of it, but it's not good for you, especially if you're going to be on a marathon, no-sleep day, where all you're going to do is survive drinking Red Bull and everything else that you're going to inhale.
Who says it's going to be a marathon, no-sleep day?
Well, it's going to be a marathon, no-sleep day. We're going from
I'm going to sleep
here
for 2 hours on the train going there.
Are you?
While you take advantage of the free champagne
that
I've lined up for you on
You're
the
gonna
champagne
sleep on
special.
the train?
I certainly am, yeah.
Okay.
To restore some energy, you know. So that by the time we get to Cheltenham, I'm in good shape and I can address the responsibilities of appearing as a guest on Hawksbee and Jacobs' show with the sort of confidence that I normally have when I walk into a recording studio, not staggering in there on my hand and knees looking like a refugee.
No, that was the second appearance you made last time, wasn't it?
From a booze train.
That was the second appearance you made. The first appearance was absolutely compos mentis, and then the second one was a step too far. I think that's why they've asked me. Well, last year. You remember last year, don't you?
No, what do you?
Well, you don't remember it. Well, when you went to Cheltenham last year on your own,
yes.
Which is why they've asked me to go with you this time.
Yeah.
You know, it seems as though between the first appearance on TalkSport and the second appearance on TalkSport, you might have had, perhaps one too many.
No, not at all. Maybe exhaustion took over.
It could have been, yeah.
In the same way as I'm going to avoid it taking over tomorrow, and that was, that's a lesson that I learned. That's all I can say. However, you making smutty insinuations. Because
no,
this is
not smutty.
Yes, you are. You're making a smutty insinuation that I was intoxicated on Hawksbee and Jacobs' show.
It's nothing to do with smut, is it?
Yes, it is, because you're trying to defile my reputation. And that's what people always do, you see, when they see somebody better than them coming in from the left wing.
See, look what's happened. You've just taken a swig of Red Bull and you've suddenly been energised. I mean, it's literally Red Bull in action. Incredible.
When somebody... When somebody sees, a rising talent emerging, coming in from left wing or right wing, what do? They try to put the blocks on it. You see what I mean?
I've never been like that. You're the guy who's admitted on national radio that you tried to stitch a couple of your previous former colleagues up.
Come off it! When I was 18, working on a local weekly newspaper.
Telling me you stopped doing that all the rest of your life?
Of course, I have stopped doing it. I don't need to anymore.
Because the Vauxhall Viva that you mentioned earlier, you've also told me, isn't that the car that you sold on to some poor unsuspecting second-hand car guy?
No.
After it had got all sorts of things wrong with it, and you didn't tell him.
No, that was my Morris 1300.
Oh, that was the Morris 1300.
I bent the mainframe when I jumped it over.
When you had another
crash.
So there's another 5 crashes you've now admitted to. The man who's never crashed a car.
What I mean is, I've never crashed a proper car. They were just like my kid cars. You see what I mean? When I was like my early 20s and that sort of thing.
Right.
But I never damaged a proper car.
No, a proper car.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, my first proper car was a Vauxhall Cortina, as a Ford Cortina, which the Daily Express gave me when I joined them as a reporter in Manchester. It was brilliant. I joined the Daily Express in Manchester, and within 2 months, I owned a house for the first time in my life. I was getting a salary which today's probably the equivalent of about £100,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was ridiculous, 12.5 grand.
Yeah. And you blew it all on those crazy cocktails.
Yeah, I did actually, yeah. And that was double what I was earning on the Birmingham Evening Mail, even working in London, It was marvellous. And I had a brand new car for the first time in my life.
When I came back to London and you'd gone to New York, when I got that job that you
I
say
got
you
a
arranged
very
for me.
highly paid job in London and a free car.
And a car. But the problem was I didn't have a licence, right? So when I came back, I'd had an American licence. I had to take, in order for the company car to be given to me, I had to take a test. So I organised to take a test. And I'd been driving for, 7 or 8 years, right? I took the test and they failed me, incredibly.
So you didn't have a driving licence?
Well, no. So the problem was that I couldn't go anywhere until I had to take another test, of which, of course, I passed. But they failed me on the first
Where was the car
test.
parked all this time?
Well, it was in the office, I presume. I couldn't drive it though because I didn't have a licence.
I wouldn't have taken that risk. Somebody else could have nicked that car and gone away and taken it away from you.
Well, they couldn't actually give me the car until I had the licence sorted out.
Now, when you were driving the car in those days, right? Did you see a lot of hitchhikers?
I didn't really, but I used to do a lot of hitchhiking myself when I was at university.
Right. Where did you go? Where did you hitchhike?
Well, I went to university in Bath, so I used to generally go just up and down the M4.
And did you get a lot of lifts?
London. I was very good at it. We used to. I mean, my quickest time was to get through. I used to get a mate of mine to give me a lift out to the that turn off on the M4.
Right.
And I used to stand there on the slip road. And the quickest time I got to London to North Circular Road in sort of Golders Green in 2.5 hours.
That's very good indeed.
I used to get a lot of lorry drivers picking me up.
Yeah, I liked lorries, but also you'd get a lot of sort of. I don't know why would you pick up a hitchhiker? I would never pick up a hitchhiker.
No.
I don't want some smelly guy in my car.
Do you know the one time I did pick up a hitchhiker, which was almost the biggest mistake of my life, was when I was in Bosnia, right? Because I was in Bosnia.
What on earth are you doing picking up hitchhikers in Bosnia? Are you mad?
I saw this woman.
Are you mad?
Well, I saw a woman standing by the side of the road, and I was out of the central kind of area where it was nasty.
So you were sexually motivated then?
No, I was not sexually motivated
at all.
No, I was actually motivated by compassion.
You were sexually motivated. You saw a woman stand there and thought, thought there's an opportunity here.
Well, if you wait until you hear the details of the story before you leap to some horrendous conclusion.
Right, go on.
I'd gone back down into Croatia, which has a beautiful coastline going down towards Dubrovnik and all that.
What do they call that coastline?
It's the Dalmatian coast.
Dalmatian coast, that's it, yeah.
Were you trying to quiz me on that?
No, I knew that.
Okay. It is really amazing, but if you go there now, there's still loads of bullet holes and stuff. Anyway, I was driving down this road because I was heading down to Mostar, where there was a lot of fighting going on, and I was trying to decide whether I could get into Mostar. And I was driving on my own, and I had this Lada, four-wheel drive Lada, which was not bulletproof, by the way.
Right.
Everybody else had bulletproof cars. I didn't.
You're driving a Russian car?
Yeah, because that was what
the
Express was, but I had the press thing up on the side of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I saw this woman all dressed in black, holding a child, a baby. And I thought, well, she's standing by the side of the road. I'm going to pick her up because she must be in some kind of trouble.
You are mad.
Yeah, but when you're in those situations, you do things that maybe normally you wouldn't do, right?
Well, I wouldn't have done it.
Anyway, next thing I know, and she was quite a young woman, and she got into the car, and she turned, and she couldn't speak any English at all, smiled at me, and had absolutely no teeth at all.
No teeth?
No teeth.
Well, the teeth have been knocked out.
Actually didn't smell very good either.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Why do you let smelly people into your car?
Well, because it was, I thought I was doing a good thing. Anyway, next thing I know was the one thing that you used to not want to see in your rearview mirror was a black VW Golf, because the Croatian militia used to drive around in those, the HVO, and they were famous for just basically, stopping people in their cars and assassinating them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I thought, I've now gone from being a journalist into helping somebody. They could now shoot me, and they followed me for about 2 or 3 miles, and I was literally frightened,
panic-stricken.
I thought this is going to be it for me. And so I literally went about 2 or 3 miles on, and I thought I'm just going to pull in. And I'm going to ask her to get out, which is what I did. Yeah. And they went round me and they carried on, and that was the end of that.
And did she get out?
She got out, yeah.
I mean, no protests or anything?
No, I just said, you have to get out now. Because I just thought I'm endangering myself.
Where were you taking her anyway?
Well, I was just taking her down the coast. I didn't know exactly where she wanted to go. I said I was going to Mostar.
What a mad venture. And why did you think the militia were following you? Because you were going to be accused of kidnapping this woman?
Well, I might have been accused of any number of things. I didn't know if she was a Muslim. I didn't know if she was a Croat. I didn't know if she was a Serb. I didn't know.
Well, what an idiot you were to stop there and put yourself in trouble.
I didn't know that I was going to put myself in trouble. I thought I was doing a good thing.
I think you're mad.
Unlike you, it's the only time I've ever picked anybody up.
Yeah, I would never pick up a hitchhiker, never. Hitchhikers are smelly people. I'm sorry to have to say that, but they are. Except
what about those guys you see on the motorway with the registration plates who are basically lorry drivers who are trying to get to their next lorry?
No, they're not. They're sometimes men who deliver new cars from a factory to a showroom or something like that, and they're given money to get back by the company they work for, but to save that money, they hitchhike back.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and that's why they've got the false plates and all that kind of stuff. No, I wouldn't give them
false plates, are they?
No, I mean, they're trade plates.
They're red and white.
Trade plates, that's right, yeah. No. Never pick up a hitchhiker. They're smelly people. And they could be, all sorts of nutters and waywards and insurgents. And it's dangerous. Yeah. No, honestly. They could suddenly grab the wheel of your car and crash your car.
I don't think there's too many insurgents on the way in from Stockbroker Belt, Surrey.
Anybody who does it's mad.
Anyway, it doesn't surprise me that you wouldn't do anything
No,
for anybody
I wouldn't.
else.
I expect to be picked up because I'm a decent, clean, respectable, honourable person who would, value the kindness of somebody picking me up when I was a student, got no money. But I'd never pick anybody up, ever.
What a paradox. As ever, Porky gives himself away. Coming up next, we're going to do the Porky quiz. It's on TV this week. The quiz about television, do you recognise that? This is not part of the quiz, by the way.
No, I don't know.
You don't recognise that?
No, I don't know.
It's not. That doesn't bode well, then, does it?
No, it doesn't. No. That's an American thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is either.
Well, it's American, but I've never heard of it, so that's not in the questions, because that'll be a bum question.
It's a kids' TV show from the 70s called Why Don't You, apparently.
Yeah, well, I gathered that, because it was Why Don't You was the only words of the song.
Yeah.
So, but I've never seen it or watched it or heard it, and I don't know what it's about.
That one passed you by?
Yeah.
All right.
Not exactly crackerjack,
you'd be very happy. You said you'd be very happy to do a quiz on television because you are going to do Porky Vision coming up later on, of course. As usual, the quiz questions have been provided to us by independent quiz masters, and I've got the questions in front of me here. As usual, if you get one right, which might surprise you, I don't think you're going to get too many right here. If you get one right, you will hear this.
Pure luck! You jammy bugger, you. I'll turn you off, do you hear me? Off.
If you get one wrong, you will hear this.
I'm amazed you're not a better loser after all the experience you've had.
Now, another second one is J.R. Ewing, right? The world's most successful man, in my view. The man I largely base my life upon his actions and his career.
Yeah.
The first guy, I think it was Tony Hancock.
It might well, Alf Garnett, apparently.
Alf Garnett,
Until Death Do Us Part.
Okay.
Which you must remember. Okay, are you ready for the first question?
Yeah, ready for the first question.
Question number 1. Which castle is used for the interior and exterior shots of Downton Abbey?
Highclere.
Highclere Castle.
Pure luck! You jammy bugger, you.
1 out of 1.
Thank you.
It's a good start.
Off.
Now, there's been a lot of debate about how much time and sort of wiggle room, I suppose, for want of a better word, we should give you when we're asking you for a date.
Right.
So we've decided to give you 1 year either side on this question, okay?
Oh, yeah.
What year was Coronation Street first broadcast?
Coronation Street was first broadcast in... It's been over 50 years now, so it's...
I have to hurry you.
1964.
Incorrect.
I'm amazed you're not a better loser after all the experience you've had.
That's supposed to be a favourite show.
What year is it?
1960. And we gave you a year either way, so you could have said 61, you would have got it.
God damn it.
Out of 2. Right, question number 3. Which actor played Dr. Gregory House?
That is the guy who... Hugh Laurie.
Correct.
Pure luck!
Thank you.
You jammy bugger, you.
I've never seen an episode of that, by the way.
Have you never seen it?
Never seen an
It's a
episode
very
of
good
it.
show, actually.
But isn't he a psychotically, manically depressed doctor?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he shouldn't be in charge of patients. Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah.
He's a genius as well.
Right.
Right, question number 4.
Right.
It doesn't look like he recognises it. His eyes are turning into slits. In this series, what was the name of the lead character? You have to know what the series is, of course.
Lead character.
Do you recognise it?
Well, it might be Magnum. It might be Magnum.
It might be.
Might be Magnum.
You can't ask me those kind of things. I'm not giving you any clues.
So the lead character would be Magnum. Or it might... You see, it sounds a little bit like Kojak, but it's not Kojak. It's not Kojak.
Is that your answer?
No.
Have to hurry you.
Could be Magnum. I tell you what it is. I think it's that one that Stephanie Powers was in with Robert Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum?
No.
Sure you don't mean Robert Wagner?
Robert Wagner.
Is that your answer?
I can't remember the name of the series, though.
Well, what was the name of the lead character?
The lead character was... Oh, he's a very rich guy. Yeah. Oh, I know. It could be a Y50. Could be a Y50.
Well, that's 6 different guesses now.
Well, hang on.
Which one are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for Magnum.
Incorrect.
Amazed you're not a better loser after all the experience you've had.
It was the $6 Million Man.
$6 million.
Steve Austin.
Well, that wasn't the main theme tune.
Oh, really?
That was just a bit of music in the middle.
That was the secondary theme tune.
No, it was. Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, that was not the main theme tune. I know the main tune is $6 Million Man with his squinting eye, you know.
Those were the opening titles.
I could kill you with this, with my index finger and all that,
Do you know who played Steve Austin?
Of course I do.
Who?
It was the bloke from the Big Valley.
The bloke from the Big Valley?
Yeah, he was in the Big Valley with Barbara Stanwyck, and his name was Lee.
Yeah.
Lee.
Yeah, correct.
Lee... Oh.
You should be able to get this, but...
Well, it's not a question anyway, is it?
Yeah.
Anyway, go on, Lee who?
Lee Majors.
Lee Majors, I knew it, $6 million
As in
man.
Farrah Fawcett Majors.
Absolutely, yeah, that's
and
right.
sadly, there's no points available for you getting that one. So, number 5, you've got 2 right so far. In Gavin and Stacey, what is Gavin's surname?
I don't watch Gavin and Stacey ever.
Well, you watch Coronation Street all the time. You didn't get that one right either.
I thought. Now, Gavin wasn't actually the fat guy, was he?
No, I don't think he was.
The fat guy being...
James Corden.
James Corden, who, incidentally, James, you're listening. Sorry, I'm not trying to insult you, but you...
He's lost a lot of weight, actually.
I know, you make fun of your own weight in those days. I do think you're a brilliant actor, and
It's
the
not
reviews...
crawling. That's not the
reviews
question.
for One Man, Two Governors were brilliant, which he's taken to America, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Now...
What's Gavin's surname?
Gavin and who?
Hey?
What was the programme called again?
Gavin and Stacey.
I was going to say Gavin Stacey then, is his surname. Gavin...
A bit like Jerome Robson.
Yes. Gavin's... Well, look, was he the Welsh guy? Was he the Welsh guy?
Yeah.
Right, in that case, it must have been something like, hello, boyo, it's Gavin... It's Gavin the...
You don't know, do you?
Gavin the milk here. I'd say Gavin, if he's typically Welsh, it's got to be Gavin Davis.
Yeah, good try. Unfortunately, incorrect.
It's Ken Poe, you plunger.
Gavin Shipman.
Shipman was a stupid name.
Yeah.
That's the same name as Harold Shipman.
Yeah, well, that's not why they called him that.
No, but Harold Shipman was Britain's biggest... What are you laughing at?
Because that's so random.
No, but he's Britain's biggest mass-murdering doctor.
Yeah,
so
well, there's also a guy called Tim Shipman, who's the political editor of the Sunday Times.
Yeah, but why would you
name him
call
after him either?
Why would you call a fictional character Shipman, like a mass murderer?
Because it's a normal name.
Ridiculous.
Okay. Anyway,
Ridiculous.
question number 6. You should get this one. Jack Bauer is the lead character of which TV series?
Jack Bauer, 24.
Quite right.
There you go. There you go.
Jammy bagger, you.
Oh, I'm on a roll
3
now.
out of 6. That's your normal 50% so far. Right, the next one is the car in the Knight Rider series was called KITT.
Yeah.
What does this acronym stand for? KITT.
What?
Do you know what an acronym is?
Of course I know what an acronym is.
KITT. What did it stand for? That's the name of the car in the Knight Rider series.
It would be something like Night in the... Yeah? Yeah?
I can't give you any clues.
Yeah? Night in the
White Satin.
No, you idiot. That was a Moody Blues record. Night in the...
Museum?
Night in the... Night in the tyre.
I'm amazed you're not a better loser after all the experience you've had.
Knight Industries 2000.
Oh, blimey, I got it then.
Night in the tyre.
I got it. I got
How'd you
it.
fancy a Night in the tyre?
I got it.
The next one, you got 3 right out of 7. This is a musical question.
I want to have a point for that.
Question is, who presented this quiz show?
Bob Holness.
Correct.
Hey.
The quizmaster suggested you might not remember that was the answer to that. That was Blockbuster, of course.
We talked about Bob Holness in the last show.
Yeah, no, we did,
because,
but you don't normally remember that.
The guy who did the sax riff for Baker Street started telling everybody it was Bob Holness because he wasn't getting any credit for it. Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Question number 9. What
Hey,
character
on the
did
roll,
Caroline Quentin play in Men Behaving Badly?
Dorothy.
Correct.
Hey.
Jammy bagger, you.
That's 5 out of 9, I think.
Thank you very much indeed.
That is very, very close to your best performance so far. Now, the final question, question number 10. You should be able to do this, being a journalist of some some reputation. Can you name 3 presenters of Newsnight?
3 presenters of Newsnight?
Yeah. Any presenters? That,
Well, Paxman's the obvious one.
Yeah.
There was a woman called Mary.
I'm not going to give you a woman called Mary.
Over how many years?
Since it was ever on.
Right. Well, the first guy on Newsnight was... Oh, I think Andrew Neil's presented it.
I don't think he has.
Well, hang on. It's Paxman.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Fiona Bruce? No, I don't think it's Fiona Bruce. It's the other one. Who's the other one? Not Fiona Bruce.
You've got about 30 seconds on this.
Mary Jajelski, is it as her name?
No.
Hang on. And another guy. Right. Newsnight used to be presented by fellow with grey hair. No, wait a minute.
Grey hair.
No.
You got 15 seconds.
Right. Okay. I think it was Dimbleby. Dimbleby was a presenter of Newsnight. No. Jeremy Paxman and a lady called Mary. but
is that your final offer?
Well, look, Paxman's the only presenter anybody knows of Newsnight.
That's not true.
It is.
The longest serving presenter of Newsnight from January 1980 to the 3rd of July 1997 was Peter Snow.
Peter Snow. He's the guy who did the elections.
That's right.
The swingometer and all that.
You could have had the current presenter, Evan Davis.
Well, yeah, but it's a totally different show now.
Yeah, you could have had John Chusa. You could have had Will Hutton. You could have had Adam Raphael. You could have had Gordon Brewer. You could have had Martha Kearney.
She's the one I was thinking about.
Well,
Lady called Mary.
You could have had Eddie Mayer.
That was a bum question.
You could have had Charles
it's
Wheeler.
A bum question.
You could have had Jeremy Vine, your mate from Radio 2.
Yes, well, he's a big mate of mine.
Well, he's such a big mate of yours, you didn't know he presented Newsnight.
Well, he's not a regular presenter, is he? You fool.
Well, you could have had any number of these names on a list.
That's a rubbish question.
Anyway, 5 out of 10. I think you should be pretty proud.
That's a
record for you.
That's an A pass. That in any examination to get 50% gives you
the school you went
to an A and a class 1
D
pass
in most places.
That is a huge success.
5 out of 10. I agree, a huge success.
What a breakthrough for the Porkmeister.
Half the questions right, except for the one
smashed your conniving tactics to pieces.
Except for the one about Coronation Street, which you should have got.
Well, maybe I should have got it, or maybe I shouldn't. But, it's to go back 54 years talking about a programme is illustrative of your attempts to catch me out.
Look at the time. We'll do Porky Vision coming up in a little while as well. Right now, though, it's time for the sports headlines. This is TalkSport.
Pure luck! You jammy bugger, you.
Now, after your incredible success at the TV shows, showing that you've got at least enough knowledge to get a D in most exam boards, 50%.
The producer comes in the studio and says, I'm amazed at how good you were at that.
Yeah,
huh?
but that's a reflection of how bad you are normally.
No, it's not.
If 50% is the highest you've ever got, that tells you something, doesn't
I've stuck at it, and I've, finally managed to eradicate your gerrymandering of the answers by just looking you in the face and just coming up with the knowledge and the goods. Okay?
Well, we shall see. Anyway, it's now time for your review of the week of the television that you've watched this week.
Right.
So tell us what you want to tell us about.
Well, the thing is, Porky Blinders is not on.
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders.
I keep calling it Porky Blinders. Have some more Red Bull.
By the way, did somebody say that Carl Fogarty is not a member of Creedence Clearwater
Revival?
I've got
a couple of people pointing out that actually John Fogarty, who you said was in it, but Carl Fogarty was in fact a superbike world champion.
Actually, I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
And the song you're singing, say some people, that was from Sprucey, is Up Around the Bend.
Up Around the Bend, yeah. Come on, the rising wind, we're going up around the bend.
Yeah. Also, you said they never came to this country. Yeah. Apparently they played the Albert Hall in 1970.
Oh, well, small venue or whatever. But
small venue.
It was definitely John Fogarty, and he definitely had a brother.
Yeah, it wasn't Carl. He was a superbike champion.
No, I think his brother. I think there must be 2 Carl Fogartys around. Seriously,
really?
I think if we Google him, anyway, John Fogarty was the number 1 guy. But anyway, so without Porky Blinders, it's difficult.
Peaky Blinders.
Sorry, I keep saying that.
Next time you see this guy Knight, right? Who's the creator of the show.
Yes.
You're going to have to get that out of your head, because if you start calling it Porky Blinders, you might get a bit offended. The guy you saw last week.
Yeah, Stephen Knight, yeah.
Stephen Knight, your new mate.
I'm taking my hat to...
Are you?
I'm taking my hat to Cheltenham.
You're not going to wear that on the train,
Yeah, I've got my Peaky Blinders hat, folks. If you see me at Cheltenham tomorrow, you will recognise me. Today it is, I'm sorry. Yeah, you'll recognise me
with my start to kick in.
with my Peaky Blinders hat, and
you're not going to wear that in the hospitality area, right?
I am. Yeah, it looks the part.
Remove your hat, please.
No, it looks the part. Honestly, it's great. And without Peaky Blinders,
you look a right part.
I'll ignore that. Without Peaky Blinders, it's very difficult to focus on the television week.
Is the Great Fire still going?
I switched it off halfway through the last series. It was rubbish. Utter drivel and rubbish.
Are they doing a new series?
No, it's utter drivel, because actually in the last...
would they?
There was only 4 episodes. In the last episode, you didn't know there was a fire going on, to be honest. It was all about garrotting people.
Was it?
Who would not pledge their loyalty to the king and all this kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And then there was another one where some kid was locked up in a jail. He was aged about 8.
Yeah.
Don't know what he's doing in the jail.
Right.
But... his uncle, for some unknown reason, decided to rescue him.
You seem to know quite a lot about it, because you didn't watch it.
Well, I only watched half of it, and I thought, I just stabbed myself with my pen, sorry. And the uncle turns up, and for no, apparent reason, decides to rescue his nephew from jail. But he doesn't know how to unlock the gate, because he can't pick a lock. So he goes off and finds... It's so ludicrous. He goes off and finds a jemmy, and then actually jemmies... the whole of the wall off, if you see what I mean, to get his...
Hopeless. I gave up on it on the first episode.
And occasionally you see a flame, there's a bit of burning going on, but it's not really about a fire anymore. And the other one I watched was Grantchester.
Oh, yeah.
And this gets, more difficult to understand. It's old Robson Green.
Yeah, I thought you said you didn't really fancy that.
No, I don't, but I watch it for the purposes of being able to talk to our listeners about it, you know what I mean? And the other guy, who is quite affable, is the vicar.
Yes.
And he helps him solve crimes.
Right.
And the premise on which this is based is that the cop, that's... what's his name?
Hey?
The cop.
Robson Green.
Robson Green.
You just said him.
Yes, I know. I forgot his name.
Jerome Green.
Jerome Robson. What he does is he goes and calls on the vicar and says, "Hi, Vic." See what I mean?
No idea what you're talking about.
I've got a crime and I've got to solve it. He says,
Right.
but if I go into this community, they won't talk to me. I'm a policeman.
Yeah.
But you're a man of the cloth. You're a vicar. If you go into the community, they will talk to you.
They based the whole series around this.
Yeah, the whole series. The plot's the same every week.
Yeah.
These people won't talk to me, Reverend, but they will talk to you. So go in there and solve my crime for me.
And is it in one sort of locale then?
Yeah, it's in a place called Grantchester.
Well, don't you think someone would have noticed that this vicar is helping out the cop, though?
Well, you'd have thought so. Yeah, but then again, Mike, have you ever seen Midsummer Murders?
Yeah.
Well, that's a little village. But
Well,
they have one murder a week.
Well, no, it's not. It's in different villages. It's meant to be in the Cotswolds, isn't it?
Yeah,
They have, like, Lower Snort
but I
and
mean,
Upper
you understand
Snort.
what I'm saying. You don't get that many murders in a
No, I think somebody once
did
a study and said actually, if you lived in a community where Midsummer Murders is, there'd be something like 50 murders a month.
That's right, yeah, something like that, yeah, and that's right. So it doesn't really work out. And the last one of Grantchester I saw, the plot was particularly crazy because, I tell you what, talking about Harold Shipman, it was like that. It was based on that.
I've just had a text, actually, from a couple of people. Paul Henning Gooner says, this morning, Gavin and Stacey, all the surnames of mass murderers.
Really?
Shipman, West and Sutcliffe.
Good God,
and there was
amazing.
quite a hoo-ha about it at the time.
Yeah, well, I think that's right. But anyway, this was the plot in the last Grantchester one, right? These people started dying, older people, and some vagrant had turned up in town and turned out to be a con man who used to pretend to want to marry old widows, but then before he did, robbed them of all their jewellery and their money, and he was away.
Oh, right.
So they chased this guy across the fields.
Well, he couldn't do that too many times in the same town, could you?
Well, no, I suppose not. No, but he'd just come to Grantchester.
Right.
He was a drifter, obviously. He'd
okay.
gone around. So anyway, they chase him across the fields and they get him. So everybody says, right, he must be the murderer because these old women had started dying. But then an old man dies, and guess what? It was the doc.
It was the doctor.
It was the doctor who was injecting
euthanising them.
Euthanising them and defending himself in front. But you see, the cop once again. They've got, what's this? What's this?
It's just a Porky spoiler alert.
Yeah, hang
You're
on.
not going to start giving the stuff away.
No. But the cop said, these old people won't talk to me. You go and talk to them. And when the vicar started talking to him, he said, what a nice guy the doctor was. And then the vicar, in a moment of revelation, flash of inspiration, it comes to him. All the people who died, there was never a struggle. It must have been... It's all right, don't worry.
Has everybody seen this, by the way?
Well...
You're sure they're not going to watch it later?
No.
Because that was the problem last time.
And the vicar worked out and said to the cop, what's his name?
Jerome Robson.
Yeah, I'm talking about Robson Green. There was never a struggle, was there? And the cop says, now that's interesting. This guy's a cop, but he's not too bright.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting. No, there wasn't a struggle at any of the places where we found the dead bodies. He says, that's because they let in somebody they trust. Who do you trust? Your local doctor.
Yeah, he isn't very bright, this guy, is he?
No, and they went and got the doctor and...
Can you imagine in a court of law, the vicar being kind of paraded up as the first witness?
Right, yeah.
And how did you come to this conclusion? Oh, it just came to me.
Yeah, it came to me.
He wouldn't be able to get a conviction at all, would he?
The doctor confessed because he went all biblical and said, I was, sending them to meet their maker because their lives were over.
Well, let's hope that
kind
people
of
are not waiting to find out what happens in that show, because you've just told them once again.
As for Coronation Street, that gets more and more ludicrous to me. Some of the plots in that are just so ridiculous. I mean, I just can't get it around it now anymore, People, camping out on the roof of houses and all sorts of nonsense.
The only
like
show that I ever see any part of that's like that is Hollyoaks, because when I put Channel 4 News on, sometimes I'm like 3 or 4 minutes early for it.
Yeah.
And just before, there's always this ludicrous kind of scene. I know nothing about the show.
Yeah.
And it's always these, very angst-ridden people, accusing each other of all sorts of horrible things, and then it just cuts off.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Lewis is very good.
Yeah.
No, but Lewis is good because it's not Lewis anymore.
Yeah, you told me this last week.
Yeah, but it gets even better now because now there's this sense of resentment between Hathaway, who incidentally is played by a member of the very distinguished acting family.
Oh, yeah? Redgrave?
Fox.
Oh, Fox. One of the Foxes. Okay.
One of the Foxes. He's the nephew of,
Edward.
The guy who was the Jackal.
Jackal?
The Jackal, that's right, yeah. And
would you be able to finish a sentence if I wasn't here?
No, I don't think so.
No.
You're prompting me well tonight, but then that's your job to basically...
To fill in the gaps.
No, to be my wingman.
That's how you see me,
to be my wingman. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And that's great because Lewis has now been sort of relegated to a sort of doddering old assistant.
Yeah.
And Hathaway, the up and coming guy, has now become inspector and tells him what to do.
Yeah.
And a sense of resentment.
Do you see any parallels here?
No, I don't see any parallels at all. I think when you're in charge, you're in charge. What are you gesturing at me for?
I'm gesturing because the time is running out as usual.
Okay. All I'm saying is, you can. When I'm in charge, and when I'm not, I know who is.
Yeah, I know as well. How about this from Eddie in Hamilton? Carl Fogarty would have been about 4 when Proud Mary was in the charts, and he then went on to be a motorcycle champion without ever joining Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Well, there was a Fogarty, and it was John, and I thought he had a brother. I don't know what his brother's name was.
We'll see if we can find out.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. That was the Two Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?
Turn you off, do you hear me? Off, off, off!